Let us bow our heads and pray. Heavenly Father, you have said in your word that many are the plans of men, but it is the counsel of the Lord that will stand. We thank you, Lord, that you have spoken in our nation today. It is our prayer that as you have commanded us, that it is you that establishes leaders, that you will pour out your mercy and your grace on all of us as a nation, on our leaders. We thank you, Father, for this time where we declare what you have spoken. We ask, Lord, that your presence be with us. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of all our hearts be pleasing and acceptable to you. O Lord, you are our strength and you are our Redeemer. Amen.
I would like to acknowledge the presence of a few dignitaries. I'll start with the special representative of the Secretary General, UNOAS, Mr. Leonardo Santos Simao. We have with us the Deputy Head of Mission, ECOWAS delegation, led by His Excellency Babuka Blaise Jani. We also have with us in the National Coalition Center, the UN Representative Coordinator, Ghana, His Excellency Mr. Charles Abani. We have delegation from ECONEC. We also have with us the USA Ambassador. Accompanying the USA Ambassador is the British High Commissioner to Ghana. Now I'm coming home. Before I come home, we have delegation from the Commonwealth. Head of delegation, thank you very much. We have a team from the Association of African Elections Authorities here with us. We also acknowledge the presence of ECONEC delegation if they are here, as well as the AU reps here. Thank you very much. Now I'll come home. With us, we have directors and deputy directors from the Electoral Commission of Ghana. Can we see you? Can we see you and wave? Please be on your feet. Be on your feet for Ghanaians to applaud you for the wonderful work that you've done. Thank you. Now I go to the commission members. Here with us is Commission Member Professor Peter Apiahene. Also here at the high table, we have Commission Member Hajia Salima Sani Mahama. The one who said the prayer is a commission member, and she is Reverend Ikuya Ufori-Boateng. Thank you. I'm told the EU Ambassador to Ghana is also here. And the Director of USAID is also here. I would like to introduce another commission member, Ms. Ajua Isiama Abrefa. And now I go to the executive commissioners. At the high table, we have Deputy Chair in charge of Corporate Service, Dr. Bosman Eric Asare. Deputy Chair in charge of Operations, Mr. Samuel Tete, is also here with us. And the chairperson, the returning officer, Mrs. Jane Adukwe-Mensah, is here. In addition, I would like to acknowledge some few people here. Reps of the National Peace Council, representative of domestic observer groups, I can see Mr. Ayin here, the National Coordinator of CODIO, reps of other international observers, members of both local and international press and media houses. Shall we see your hands? The local and international press houses with us. And last but not the least, I would like to acknowledge the supporting staff, members of the security services, as well as the members of the ambulance services that were able to come on short call. Thank you very much for coming. And now, the reason why we are here. I have the singular honor to cede the podium or the mic to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and the returning officer for the presidential elections, Madame Jean Mensah.
A good evening to all of you, our distinguished guests. To God be all the glory, great things he has done, and greater things he will do. We thank the good Lord for making it possible for us to witness this day. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been 48 hours since the close of polls on Saturday, the 7th of December, 2024. The voters of Ghana have spoken. They have expressed their choice at the polls, and that choice will today be upheld by the Electoral Commission of Ghana. As a commission, we have fulfilled our vowed aspiration to imbibe transparency, accountability, inclusiveness, and responsiveness at the heart of all our operations. And I can confidently say that with the help of God, we have fulfilled these aspirations and the expectations of the citizenry. We have conducted elections that are credible, fair, transparent, and peaceful. Elections that have ensured that the will of the people as expressed at the polls, the elections that have guaranteed that every vote counts. As a country, we take pride in the fact that our electoral processes, initiated since 1992, uphold and guarantee the voter's choice. We take pride in the fact that the voter's choice, as expressed at the polls, is sacrosanct. Ladies and gentlemen, the last 4 years have been spent in injecting and infusing 4 key elements into every aspect of our work. And those elements are transparency, accountability, responsiveness, and inclusiveness. As such, we started the year poised and ready to conduct credible elections. We were conscious that elections were an event and not a process. This resolve led us to undertake several transformational decisions, including the re-exhibiting of the Provisional Voters Register for the first time in our history, when concerns were raised about its credibility, as well as opening up the IPAC meetings to the citizenry by allowing the live coverage of all IPAC meetings. Indeed, the decisions to re-exhibit the Provisional Voters Register to allow a further review by political parties and the citizenry, as well as the demystification of the IPAC meeting, has helped diffuse the tensions that were brewing around the Provisional Voters Register. Ultimately, those 2 decisions restored the confidence of the citizens in the Voters Register and cemented Ghana's peace. Again, in the spirit of responsiveness, when complaints were made about the 50 pesos charged voters for the verification of their registration details online, the Commission waived the fee and allowed voters to verify their details at no cost. In line with our determination to ensure the credibility of the 2024 election, when the Commission received information of the leak of a single defaced ballot paper, the Commission acted swiftly and destroyed ballots for both Western and Eastern regions. This bold determination and this bold decision was based on our determination to uphold the integrity of the election at all costs. In less than 1 week, the Commission printed new ballot papers for both regions and went on to successfully hold the special voting 2 days ahead of the main election. As a Commission, our singular message to our teams at all levels has been clear. It is that our mandate is not to make anyone a president or a member of parliament, but rather to conduct and undertake credible and transparent elections and electoral processes which uphold the voter's choice and lead to acceptable and peaceful electoral outcomes. Today, our resolve has paid off. We have conducted elections that are fair, elections that are free, elections that are credible, elections that are transparent, elections that are peaceful, and elections whose outcomes are acceptable by all. So transparent are our processes that any interested political party, media house, or citizen could collate with near precision the results of the election, attesting to the resilient and robust processes built over the years. And we witnessed this with the concession of the Vice President, even before the declaration of the results by the Electoral Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, the testimonies on election day also attest to the efficient, robust, and resilient processes we put in place. Many citizens testified to the seamless processes they witnessed at the polling stations. The average time spent at the polling station was around 5 minutes compared to several hours and several minutes prior to the 2020 election. Citizens also attested to the efficiency of the biometric voter devices, the biometric verification devices employed to ensure that every man has one vote. The system worked efficiently and ensured that the voter who registered was indeed the person who voted. We are confident that the 2024 election will further cement trust in our electoral processes and reduce the suspicions that typically characterize elections on the continent. At this juncture, I would like to thank all of you who journeyed with us to ensure the success of the 2024 election. To our staff, both permanent and temporary, we say, Ayiko, you have worked hard, put in long hours, plowed the field, and done the spade work at the risk of your own lives to bring us a successful outcome. Our hearts go out to our staff who were manhandled during this time. We wish you well, and we ask the good Lord to bless all of you. To our media partners who have journeyed with us and enabled us to bring the commission to the doorstep of every Ghanaian, we say thank you. To the Ghana Police Service and to our partner, the National Peace Council, we say Ayiko. We thank all of you, the good citizens of Ghana, who have believed in us and allowed us to serve you. To our dear families and friends who have journeyed with us every step of the way, We thank you for your support, your prayers, your encouragement, and your advice. We are conscious that we could not have achieved this success without the help of the Almighty God, our anchor, without whom we could have done nothing. We remain eternally grateful, and I say thank you, Jesus. To all our observers from the ECOWAS, from the African Union, from the ECONEC, from the Commonwealth Secretariat, from the West Africa Elders Forum, supported by the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation, from the National Peace Council, from CODEO, from the Association of African Election Authorities, from the European Center for Election Systems, from International IDEA, Frimpong Manso Institute, IDEG, and to electoral commissioners from election management bodies in Africa, namely Uganda, Gambia, Kenya, Liberia. We say thank you for your support. We wish you all Godspeed back home. As the returning officer for the presidential election and in fulfillment of my mandate as enshrined in law, I will now declare the outcome of the 2024 election. It is important to note that per Regulation 63.3 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, the winner of the presidential election must obtain at least 50% plus 1 at the polls to be declared the winner of the election. We have collated the presidential results from all 16 administrative regions, of which 267 of the 276 constituencies have been captured. We have not been able to receive results from 9 constituencies because our offices have been besieged by political party supporters, making it impossible to complete the collation process. That notwithstanding, the presidential results from the 267 constituencies, including the newly created Guan constituency, clearly established the winner of the 2024 presidential election. Simply put, even if all the votes from the 9 constituencies were added to the candidate who placed second, it will not change the outcome of the election. It is important to note that the Commission will update the records on receipt of the presidential results from the 9 outstanding constituencies. Ladies and gentlemen, now to the results of the 2024 presidential election. And the results will be announced based on the positions of the presidential candidates on the ballot. Mahama Bawumia of the NPP obtained 4,657,304, being 41.61%. Daniel Augustus Latte Jr. of the GCPP obtained 16,673, being 0.15%. Christian Kwabena Andrews of the Ghana Union Movement obtained 16,461, being 0.15%. Kofi Apalu of the LPG obtained 5,219, being 0.09%. Mohamed Frimpong of the National Democratic Party obtained 4,413, being 0.04%. Nana Akosua Frimpong of the CPP obtained 23,397, being 0.21%. Mr. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC obtained 6 million. Let me take that again. Mr. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC obtained 6,328,5 397. And I'd like to repeat that. Mr. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC obtained 6,328,397, being 56.55%. Mr. Hassan Ayariga of the APC obtained 17,461, being 0.16%. Mr. Kofi Kranting, independent candidate, obtained 3,320, being 0.03%. Mr. George Chumberima Edu, independent candidate, obtained 3,091, being 0.02%. Nana Kwame Biediaku, independent candidate, obtained 84,478, being 0.05%. Mr. Alan Kojo Tremanting, independent candidate, obtained 31,202, being 0.28%. The total valid votes cast add up to 11,191,422. Total rejected votes, 239,109. Total votes cast, 11,430,531. It's important to mention that the total registered voters add up to 18,774,159. And the percentage voter turnout based on the 267 constituencies stands at 60.9%. 60.9% based on the 267 constituencies. And as I mentioned, this does not include the 9 constituencies whose results we are yet to receive. Ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned earlier, results from the 9 constituencies are still as outstanding. The 9 constituencies are Ewutu Senya East, in Sawam, Aduajiri, Akwetia, Suhum, Techiman South, Domi Kwabenya, Ablekuma North, Ahafo Anon North, and Damango. The total registered voters in all 9 constituencies add up to 947,116. In the event that all the valid voters from the 9 constituencies above voted for the candidate who placed second, the total number of votes he would garner would be 5,604,420, representing 46.17% of the total valid votes, which would have been 12,138,538. The inclusion of the outstanding constituencies would have given the leading candidate 52.13%, which is still greater than the 50% plus 1 required to be declared a winner. And so even with that scenario, he's clearly the winner of the 2024 election. In the light of the above, ladies and gentlemen, I have the singular honor as the returning officer of the 2024 presidential election to declare His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as the winner of the 2024 presidential election and the President-elect of the Republic of Ghana with a total percentage of 56.55%. Congratulations, sir. It is finished. Thank you very much.
1992, he didn't get this much difference.
No.
In fact, in the subsequent 1996 year, he didn't get this much difference. Even though the percentage was higher, he didn't get this much difference. So I'm looking through the figures and still trying to recall a single electioneering period since 1992 where we've had a difference of 1.6 million Ghanaians voting for the NDC, because we just had a conversation earlier that what makes our elections a bit more of the problematic end is that it's always close. The difference is not that huge. And in 2016, when we're talking about 1 million or 900,000, some said it was unthinkable. This is almost doubling that number. But I'm also looking at something else that's also getting my attention all through. That's making this particular victory quite pronounced. And it's to do with the Evans-Mensah percentages involved. Going back to the years. Yes, Rawlings did 58, 57, 1992, 1996. But we discount those years because we know why. Since that period, it was during John Kufuor's runoff. That's not the main election, but runoff of 2000. That 56.90 is higher than this one. But we can discount a runoff. So if you take it out, there is no single year that we've had an election in the Republic of Ghana of this magnitude, in a presidential election, where anybody, and forget about the outstanding 9, anybody has gotten anywhere near the 56.55. That is how outstanding this. In fact, if we're wrapping up this as is approximating it, we'll be discussing 57 percentage points. Here, this is very huge. No wonder it's reflecting in the almost 1.6 million.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not almost. More than 1.6
more than 1.6 million. With still 9 constituencies outstanding. If you are NDC today, you'll be elated. But you'll also be thinking, what exactly did we do to warrant this? This is legitimacy at the highest level. This is a total declaration of the people that we don't want one, and you are the one that we want in this instance. Again, you mentioned the turnout and the differences in there. When Rawlings was making those huge numbers, the turnout was quite low. In fact, it was around the same percentage in this case, even in the year 2000. But I am still shocked by the 56%. In fact, if we put the rest together and it goes higher than this 56% and inches towards 57%, it will be a resounding victory. Many would have thought that as democracy advances, people don't give these resounding victories to people because they do believe that others ought to also participate in the system. But this is quite strange. A reflection of massive anger. What we have seen is that when NPP people told themselves, I'm not going to waste my time voting out in this election. There are places where the NDC's votes are slightly increased or the same, but in the case of the NPP, they've lost sometimes, say, Dominic Kwabena, from 75,000 votes, when she had reduced by 10 percentage points to 50,000 votes in this election Michael Quay got. That is 25,000 more people. I'm not even adding the fact that by elections we increase in numbers for the next election and that 80 million people registered for this one. I'm saying 25,000 Ghanaians.
Well, I mean, Raymond, in that constituency, Akufo-Addo got 78,000.
Imagine.
That was even more than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
See, almost 30,000 people in Dominic Kwabena said, I don't care about your election. I'm not participating in it. That should be a worry to many of us in this country. It's a damning verdict on our democracy, but it also shows that this 56.55 is a resounding victory that, regardless of how you look at it, is a massive endorsement of John Dramani Mahama and a signal to the NPP. And I'm not just saying this is all about President Akufo-Addo. There is something to be said about how Bawumia only garnered 41%. That is an extremely low for an NPP candidate in presidential elections of this
Especially when our analysis have said that when NPP wins election, they tend to win it by a huge margin.
A huge margin.
Compared to the NDC.
Indeed, if you take out Rawlings, this is the biggest showing that the NDC has ever made.
And Prof, if you put it in context, whilst Raymond makes the point about this is the biggest showing, 2016, JM was also, in terms of the margin of defeat, had managed to claw in an unwanted record, which is the guy with the biggest margin of defeat. He has flipped it completely on his head over 2 terms of the Akufo-Addo MPP administration. There's a lot to be said about this comeback. If you ever thought, and this is just talking generally about life, if you ever thought that life was over for you, JM tells you that sometimes you can make a comeback. And you did not just come back, you can come back big time.
If you look at the years that you have mentioned, that we've had low voter turnout, 2000, 2008, 2016, 2024, they have all been the completion of the second term of an incumbent government.
Yeah.
And those periods have always been our turnover periods. So if you look at 2000, there was our first turnover, 2008, second turnover, then 2016, and then now 2024. And basically, it speaks to a whole lot of things, that people usually get fed up with the performance or the track record of the incumbent in their second term, but also it has to do with the kind of campaign that you also put up. Even if people are fed up with the incumbent government and you do not campaign well based on policies and have a superior strategy, it becomes very difficult. In 2016, we were saying 2016 was the first turnover in our third turnover that we didn't go runoff. And we said Akufo-Addo won with close to a million.
Close to a million votes.
Difference. Yes. Now, JM has spoiled the record at all. Because he is also winning first round with 1.6, even minus 9 constituencies.
Yeah.
And the number of parliamentary seats is overwhelming. So I think this is a complete destruction of the MPP and the MPP campaign machinery. And I think it will take them several years to recover. But what it also means is that the NDC also have to be very careful, because when you are given this kind of overwhelming mandate, a lot of expectations is required.
And you make such an important point, because I go back, you always need to go back to the history to learn a bit more about what is happening now. When Nana Addo won the 2016 elections, the expectation was in the stratosphere. He had gotten this overwhelming mandate, and everybody was looking forward to something magical.
Yeah.
And when you raise people's expectations and they give you this mandate, you also expect a lot. To whom much is given, much is expected. The key question then becomes, and there's something about John Drama. I want to go live to the Electoral Commission's headquarters now, because my colleagues are having an exclusive conversation with Madame Jean Mensah.
Conduct even more transparent elections. We go back to review our systems, our processes, to look at the lessons learned, to look at what worked well, what didn't work well, because it's a whole process, and it starts, as you know, from the registration exercise of voters. And so we're looking at, the whole chain to see what we can do better, and to ensure that we continue to deliver elections that, uphold the will of the people as expressed at the polls.
And you will assist other African countries in doing so?
I'll be very happy to do that. I'll be very happy to do that. Thank you very much.
My last one,
You mentioned that you're looking forward to improving the processes even more. And there'll be time to talk about that. There'll be time to talk about what went wrong and the challenges this year, and how do you make it better and improve on it for the next elections. We've always done that as a country, and that's what makes our democracy strong. But coming back to a point I was making, and Prof, I'm staying with you on this. You watched JM's body language when we went there for that live shot of him seated. He was very calm. Even after the declaration, everybody was all about him. The wife was trying to drag his hand. There was a sense that you get just reading his body language. And because I've been there before, this is, he feels a sense of responsibility more than a sense of jubilation.
Yeah. So generally, he's a humble character. And even when he's when he wins overwhelmingly an election, maybe he will still have to be humble. But largely because of what you've mentioned. He's been there. He's been one thing you expect about him in his second term is the fact that all the lessons that he has learned in his last administration, he has been given an opportunity to right the wrongs and to set a legacy. Unlike other presidents, you finish your term, you go and say, oh, if I had the opportunity, I would have done A, B, C, D. But in his case, he has been in government, he has been in opposition, and he has been given another mandate. So he has a lot to do. So he's looking at deeply what Ghanaians are expecting from him. And I tell you, Evans, if you look at the kind of economy and the challenges Ghanaians are going to, the expectations are so high. And maybe that's why he's looking at how he's going to start. And also, he's inheriting an economy that will not be able to support the expectations. The challenges that the economy, the state of everything now is in a complete mess. So how is he going to reconcile the level of expectations and the state of economy that is left to him. So I think basically when he's looking at all these things, he will be very humble in celebration and see how he can not only set record and do the right things, but also create an opportunity for his party to continue. And remember in 2016, it was the same thing. He was finishing, actually his party was doing 2 terms, and he was doing his first term. And because of the two-term differences, they didn't give him the opportunity to continue. In this case, he's doing 1 term, and his party at most will have to do 2 terms. So that's also another break. So there's a lot that is going through his mind right now. And I think that is what is humbling him, rather than he celebrating and making noise and then shouting.
And Winston, that is an important point, is it not? And we are awaiting his acceptance speech. We're going to be reading a lot into what he says, whether he appreciates this moment. Of course, it wouldn't have dawned on him just yet how massive this is. It will take some time. But I think one thing that will not be lost on him, knowing his own track record and the experiences he's had, is that this is a weight on his shoulder more than anything else.
You see, in a country where we make promises, election promises, without sometimes calculating how much it would cost us and where we will get the monies from, when you win an election, it dawns on you then that, whoa, I have a lot to do. Because one, in 14 days, we'll be asking John Mahama, where is the list of your cabinet ministers? In the first 120 days, we'll be asking John Mahama, where is the national dialogue you promised? This is it, and I agree that he would need some time to fix some of the problems we're faced with.
The challenge with him is he hasn't got time.
Yes.
Everybody else had first term, second term.
Yes.
He has 1.
Yes, but if within that period, the economy shows prospects, shows signs, proper signs of recovery, people will look at it and say, he's done it his part. But if within that period, the economy sinks further, people will look around again and say, this is not what you promised us. And that is why I say, it's good that he's talking about a dialogue. Because one of the things we haven't done so well in this country is the participatory nature of our development. We assume that once a government...
Winston, just a second. I want to take you back there live to the EC's HQ where Dr. Mani Boama, who managed elections for the NDC, is speaking to the media.
Theft under CCTV or biometric devices, missing devices, serious discrepancies in the electoral register, all the way to even D-Day, people still were finding it difficult to locate their names in the register. However, at a point, we decided that it is the commission that has been mandated to conduct the elections. So, whilst we put them on their toes, let's also continue to campaign. Let's put in place the checks and balances. Let's intensify our eagle eye approach so that we will be able to block all the tricks that could have been used to steal the mandate of the people. Fortunately, we were successful. One of the last interventions was our uncovering of massive ballot papers in Kwadaso in the Ashanti region. Just imagine if those ballot papers, estimated at almost 500,000, had entered the ballot boxes in Ashanti region in favor of the MPP. The MPP would have today been talking about over 1 million votes in Ashanti region as the gap between the MPP and the NDC. But thanks to our eagle eye and uncovering of that deadly, illegal ballots in a home, today the gap between the MPP and the NDC in Ashanti region is 600,000 plus. The question is, what has the MPP been doing over the years in Ashanti region? It is obvious the MPP is not as popular in Ashanti region as we have always been told. Check the intervention of uncovering over 500,000 ballot papers and the precipitous drop in the votes of the MPP in Ashanti region. It tells you something has always been amiss. And we are grateful that through intel, we were able to uncover this. There are several steps to be traversed in order to enhance credibility of our electoral processes. And we believe that the commission will not go and rest and wait for another 4 years only to come back and repeat the mistakes that led us into this election. We will prefer that the Electoral Commission of Ghana immediately begins the reforms that are needed, that are necessary to deepen our democracy.
The Commission is parting itself for conducting what they describe as the most credible, free and fair and transparent elections. Is that the same vibe you are getting as you prepare to lead the country from 2025?
I prefer to state that we have been extremely vigilant. Elton, we sent over 1,300 people, into Ashanti region. We sent several others to other places that evidence demonstrated that the MPP was colluding with some members of the commission to steal. So yes, the outcome has been great for us and we've won. The question is, but for those interventions, what would have happened? Who printed the 500,000 or more ballot papers? Who printed them? You understand? As we speak, we do not know who was holding that particular ballot paper or ballot papers that led to the reprinting of the Eastern and Western region ballot papers. Do you think that if that person was NDC, the person's name would not have been put out there by now? We demand to know. And as I said, power is transient. And we believe we will know. Because until we get to the bottom of these nefarious activities, democracy will continue to be just selection. Because people clandestinely will collude with people who have been put in lawful authority and cheat citizens, steal their mandate from them. Can you imagine if we had not been ultra vigilant and the MPP had won this election, the impunity that we would have witnessed in our country, that notwithstanding the fact that the bonds of pensioners, the bonds of citizens had been taken away from them, reduced to paltry sums, you still voted for us, when actually it would have all been because of ballot stuffing. So the commission should not be patting itself on the back just because of our ultra vigilance that we showed. The EC chair, for instance, alluded to opening up IPAC to the media. Go to my Facebook page and check whether I had not requested for the opening up of that particular IPAC meeting. I had. So it was demand-driven. It was not supply-driven. Ask yourself, when we requested to meet the commission and we were demanding that the commission should allow the media to cover, did they do that? So instead of they taking credit for the things that they have been forced to do, we rather expect that they will have deeper introspection so that going forward, we will be able to have an Electoral Commission of Ghana that is truly responsive to the needs and concerns of Ghanaians. I'll give you an example. Today, we are talking about pink sheets flying around. Ask Dr. Bosman whether I did not call him and demanded that for the pink sheet that were not going to be used, the presiding officers should cross them and write cancel. Ask him whether they sent that authorization. If they had done that, do you think people, criminals, would have gotten access to those pink sheets and be using them like that. Because they refused it. Ask them. We demanded for the Excel formula that was even going to be used to calculate the final results. Ask them whether they ever produced it. So there are more issues, and I wouldn't have expected that Madam Chairperson will go praising herself or praising the commission for the thing that we have basically have to force it on them. We have a brighter future ahead of us as a people, as a determined people. We expect that going forward, the commission lives above board. Fortunately, we have President Mahama going to be sworn in on January 7. You know him. He's not somebody who is going to be influencing institutions to do his bidding. He is a Democrat par excellence. And so you can expect that institutions will begin to work. And that is why institutional reform is also very, very critical.
Just final question for me, though. You've been in government before, and I know that from today the transition teams will begin to work. What do you expect from the MPP now that they have days, weeks to leave office? What do you expect them to do before the NDC take over in January?
That the MPP will recognize the fact that there's a government in waiting. Ghanaians have demonstrated clearly that, look, they were a sham of a government. This outcome, over 1 million gap, is a repudiation of the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia MPP government. That being the case, we expect them to, if they have not finalized their handing over notes, finalize them. And in finalizing handing over notes, there is a reason this period is called a transition period. We do not expect them to be unnecessarily, incurring expenditures or signing contracts that will be binding the incoming John Dramani Mahama, Nana Akufo-Addo government. And we also expect financial institutions not to be honoring such obligations that the government will be placing on them. We expect them to ensure that we have a peaceful transition. We expect them to also ensure that just as we all stayed in the country for accountability purposes, President Mahama stayed in the country, I stayed in the country, my colleagues, we all stayed in the country for the past 8 years, and we were ready and willing to account for our stewardship. We expect them to do same. Because Operation Recover or Loot will be a reality. It will not be a mirage. There are teeming unemployed youth who came out in their numbers and voted massively for President John Dramani Mahama. They can be rest assured that a 24-hour economy will be implemented to provide them with decent, well-paying jobs. And so, hope is coming. Hope is here. Hope has been declared as the president-elect. Let's listen to the man who is coming to reset our country tonight at 7 p.m. Doctor, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We just finished interviewing him.
And that there is Dr. Mani Bahama is the Director of Elections for the NDC. Just speaking to us there about what you can expect, but also already touching on the transition process that will happen and the warnings to the incumbent government, what they can and cannot do. The reality is that the presidency remains president until the midnight of, in fact, until the swearing in, is it not, of the new president. And so that is an important point. We know that sometimes between this period, questions are what can you reasonably do if you are anticipating a new government taking over? What would you hold back from doing? But nothing stops the president from acting because he's still the commander-in-chief. There'll be time for that discussion. But let's go back to what we've heard there already. We're anticipating and expecting John Dramani Mahama to be delivering his acceptance speech. And I'm going to take a seat now as we look forward to that coming up pretty shortly. But Winston, you were speaking before we went to take this live declaration. We were analyzing John Dramani Mahama's body language and the expectations and the weight on the shoulder. He seemed to appreciate this. And I was making the point earlier that he is the only man in this country who understands what Dr. Bawumia is going through. Because and this is actually also interesting, that over time, Ghanaians keep punishing the incumbents who fail, who create economic turmoil, who then, last time, and there's something that we did a long time ago, linking IMF programs to election outcomes.
Anytime you do it in your second term, you're out.
It has a very direct correlation with that. The last time we went, it happened. And each time we had gone is worse when we were going. At this time, it went on life support. And Ghanaians consistently have said, at least now the trend shows, that if you take us to the IMF again and it happens in your second term, you're going to punish you severely. John Mahama understands this. But he knows he is going to inherit an economy still with the IMF.
Perhaps even ask for extension.
And ask for extension. And he seemed to appreciate that, at least his body language says it. But his acceptance speech must now communicate that very clearly, in very clear terms, that he appreciates what he's about to inherit.
Look, and in part of the 120 days contract with Ghanaians, he's talked about the dialogue. And I have indicated that one of the things we don't do so well in this country is, engage in participatory development, because everybody thinks that a government comes into office and the government determines, and so people have defined politics to mean, Professor Adams of GIMPA, for instance, said, winning power, then determining what people want, so they vote for you.
Determining what they want.
Exactly. That's what politicians do. They decide what you need to vote for them, and then they give it to you. This is the departure I want to see. And so Mahama is talking about having this dialogue. He did it with the Senchi. He's talking about having a dialogue, and this is in his first 120 days. The dialogue should show where we want to go as a people, what all of us are prepared to sacrifice. Because if we want to turn this thing around, we must be prepared to sacrifice. It mustn't only be the people outside the political class who sacrifice, because in this country, consistently, we have said, let's bite the bullet. While we're biting the bullet, the man who is advocating the biting of the bullet has no bullets and has no biting. So this time around, we need to
tighten the belt.
And that man who is advocating tightening of the belt
doesn't even have belt hold.
He doesn't have belt hold, so he doesn't tighten anything. Like we've stated, having been president before and having been voted against and not seeking re-election, John Mahama has nothing to lose. This is the time to build a legacy. And I say Ghanaians should at least, let's hold on. And I'm happy Bawumia talks about not being a disruptive opposition, even though he would hold government accountable. Let's offer solutions. Let us not be, the country where you go into opposition, right from day one, you are criticizing and condemning everything a government does. You must offer your support, because someday, and the evidence will show that, look, we will come back here, we'll come back again here if we all have life. If not in 4 years, in 8 years, to be talking about changing government again.
Prof.
An extension to his argument. You see, what's the name? Dialogue, participatory, developmental process require honesty. You see, if you are a government and you are facing challenges, don't be in a state of denial. Be honest with the Ghanaian population. This is what we promise. This is the state of affairs. It may be difficult, or it may take time, or we need to adapt this approach. We've seen governments in this country who come, and when people are even telling them what they are going to, they think you are lying. Everything is fine. You are anti-what? You are opposition. They will find names for you. Sometimes they won't even allow you to face that, to the extent that people even don't want to talk about what they are going to do because of victimization. So honestly, we are human beings, and we have voted for you, and we believe that what you have preached you do is what has lured us into voting for you. Look, if you have problems addressing or achieving the objectives within specific timelines, be honest with Ghanaians. This is it. And we've seen that in the development world. Transparency in their government. Look, this is what is happening, so we are going to do ABC. We take these austerity measures, we'll do this, we can meet our deadlines, and people will bear with them. But here, they will deny it. The people expose it. This is what I'm going to. They say it's not true. But you are not going to what I'm going through. So I think we have to reintroduce sincerity in our politics and be very transparent and be very open with challenges. And you see that Ghanaians will support you.
What you said, Prof, was the point I wanted to make. If John Dramani Mahama does not fix all of Ghana's economic problems, and I know any person with reasonable expectation in this country knows that he will not fix all of our problems. But if he's honest with the people, if he's truthful, if it's not politics as usual or business as usual, if he's not saying, oh, these are our problems collectively, then his appointees are riding along in our V8, misbehaving all over the place, wasting our resources, and doing the very things that people abhor. He will get support. There are things that people hate in this republic, and they have stated it consistently. And not just people merely because they run around, they purport to wear military uniforms like those who are claiming that they are taking whatever position they are taking now. Young men who have not done anything useful beyond campaigning, all of a sudden become rich people overnight merely because a party is in power. They get to own all of the houses, all the big places. People who were your classmates and are not the best of the best to start with are now doing everything. These are things that people would oppose, and let's not get it wrong. But if he departs from these ways, if you are not seeing the elements where you end up, you are going into a campaign, they are sharing those, what's the name of those cars, the small ones that is it 2012 or 2016? I've forgotten the name of those. Yes, the small cars. They were sharing on campuses to girls. I mean, see, if those things do not happen, Ghanaians see and they can identify with the struggle. They know that you don't have a magic wand, but they will disrespect you if you show impunity to them. If you act as if you've gotten political power, so all of a sudden we have taken positions. And people who are of no relevance to state now become so powerful. They control the arms of the state. There's no rule of law in the country. When you do that, people see it. They all evidence that. And later on, they'll punish you for it. And to him as an individual.
His biggest challenge will be how he walks this fine balance between satisfying the party loyalists who supported him, who expect something back, and meeting the expectations of the generality of Ghanaians. Because that is a reality. They would want something back. They supported you. They put in a lot of effort. They put in a lot of money and support for you. You need to straddle that very carefully. It comes down to the people he's appointing around him, to the various ministries, but also to those who are running his administration close to him. He tried that when he first came in after 2012 elections, where the likes of the Bendoche Malos and people applauded him for it, but they didn't last there because those hawks and those loyalists who actually have been, they fought him. That tussle will emerge again. His ability to straddle that and walk this fine line will really define him, because if he keeps to just satisfying that, and that was Nanado's biggest flaw, he repays loyalty to the point of just
sacrificing
everything else. Everything else. And that is what has led him here. You have to spare a moment for John Dramani Mahama, because he will need to still satisfy those four groups of people.
You see,
somehow. The choice appears easy, but it isn't, because you say, oh, by just satisfying the generality of Ghanaians, you're fine.
No. You see, we even give them choices.
Briefly, because I need to go live to the
choices in the first place. John Dramani Mahama could have said, I know all the difficulties, I'm not coming back. You chose to come back. The people first must be your mantra. If you put parochial, personal, and relational interests, it's your legacy you're destroying. You have just one term. You're not seeking re-election in your own party. What you can do, Mahama.
You have nothing to lose.
Yes. It's for the first time. So there can be a new leader.
I don't agree.
Of course, I don't agree with you. It's too easy to say.
Raymond,
go on.
You see, it's an investment. People have invested in his second coming, right? But two, not just his legacy, but he's contesting on the ticket of the party. And the party have to self-sustain after him. This is hard reality.
You say real politics. But we see,
hold on.
Guys, in a minute, I need to cross over, so let's
if we're talking about investment, that people have invested, then there was no business voting the MPP.
Okay, sorry, I need to go. We will continue on this conversation. Let's go live now. to Maxwell, who's a resident of John Dramani Mahama, waiting his acceptance speech. He's speaking to Joyce Bar Mukhtari.
You are the man. You are the man. You are a whole vibe.
You are also the
You're a whole vibe. It's almost as if we've probably been sharing like a compound.
I know, right?
But I'm sure you do know that it didn't come on the back. It wasn't easy.
True.
Serious work has gone into it. But today, we are grateful to the Almighty Lord. We thank God for this day. You know, I think someone said something interesting to me today. And that in 2016, Akufo-Addo told us very boldly that he had won by over 1 million votes or close to 1 million votes. In 2020, he won by over a little above 400,000 votes. In 2024, the good Lord has added the 1 million then, the 400,000 then, and today, John Mahama has gotten way above the extra 1.4 million votes between the two gentlemen. And then the second thing is also the fact that he kept referring to John Mahama as a one-term president. Today, the good Lord has made it possible to secure a commanding second term for John Dramani Mahama. So for all of us who serve John Mahama, who have worked for him all these years, we are enormously grateful to the people of Ghana. You know, we don't take this lightly. And you can see that today Mr. Mahama is almost extremely calm. It is a very, very humbling experience. Boss, 56% and more. It has never happened before, certainly not in this Fourth Republic. And I think that is phenomenal.
Like you rightly said, many have described it as an emphatic, resounding, and a landslide victory.
Commanding.
Commanding. Okay. A lot of adjectives. More. Okay. Tell me, does it put any burden, on him as he prepares to take over the reins of government?
Maxwell, of course. Look, I'm sure all of us realize that there is a certain urgency to the matter. The country is literally bankrupt. We have a public debt of 760 billion. We have an exchange rate of close to 17 cedis. And let me tell you something that happened over the last few days. You know what's happening, that the cedi is actually stabilizing? So change is good. And I know that at the bottom of all our problems is a really, really, really terrible economy. If Mr. Mahama's modesty alone can be brought to bear on the challenges that are facing the city, I have no doubt in my mind that very, very soon things will definitely be improving. Look, I'm really elated. I'm excited. I'm humbled. I thank the good Lord that I am actually part of this historic event, this historic journey, this historic opportunity. And I used to tell Mr. Mahama that all of our enemies are watching. Make no mistake. This is something that we need very, very, very badly. And today, to the glory of God, John Mahama is the man to beat. And Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman making history as Ghana's very first vice president-elect, a female, no less.
He has a 120-day social contract with the Ghanaian people. And we've seen quite a number of things when it comes to that. One says that he would scrap the e-levy, the betting tax, quite a number of them, within 120 days. You have talked about the challenges that, is present now. Do you think it's going to be possible within 120 days?
When the good Lord decides to bless you, he gives you all the material things that you need to ensure that that blessing comes to fruition. Today, he has a commanding lead in Parliament, over 180 members of Parliament. So he has beyond the 2/3 that is required. And I am certain that that 2/3 majority will be put to very good use. Don't forget that we have a constitutional review process that is pending. This is a great opportunity. To talk about all the nuisance taxes, this is a great opportunity. To talk about COVID, betting, e-levy, name it. This is a fantastic opportunity. And Ghanaians have told us that the acrimony of the hung parliament is something they don't want to see again. So this is actually a referendum on the failure of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia. And today, Bawumia represents the disgrace that Akufo-Addo has brought to a new patriotic party.
Finally, before you go, they say, elders say that when your neighbor's beard is on fire, you get closer to a water source. What lessons is the NDC taking from what has happened?
Maxwell, you know me. I think that all of us who serve JM try as much as possible to emulate him. Humility, respect for those who put you in office, compassion, give people their liberties and their freedoms. be sure to lead by all means, but show compassion in your leadership. Be moderate, be decorous. Above all, respect the fact that it is the grace of God that brings you and puts you here. So I think that His grace is sufficient for us.
Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you. God bless you. Thank you, sir.
God bless you too. So I just heard from the spokesperson for the John Mahama campaign, Joyce Bar Mokhtari, speaking to us there. But the top brass of the NDC is here currently. The President-elect John Mahama should be arriving here at his party office in Cantonment shortly, and he will be addressing the nation at exactly 7 o'clock. But on the days here, you can see on my right-hand side, we have the chairman of the John Mahama 2024 campaign, Professor Joshua Alabi, there having an interaction. Professor Joshua Alabi there, seated very close to him, is Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, former chairman of the NDC. Also in your shot is former Chief of Staff Julius Deborah, also there on the days. General Secretary Fifi Kwete also up there on the days. And we can see the minority leader, Kasiala Tufosin. Let's get closer and have interaction with them. Seated closely to him is former Speaker of Parliament, Edward Doe Ajaho. Let's speak to the former Speaker of Parliament. Well, he's not ready to speak at this point, but we also have former minority leader, Haruna Iddrisu here with us. Mr. Iddrisu, you're welcome to join us.
You want me to stand?
Oh, no, you can sit. Feel free. You can sit.
Yeah, thank you.
What is the mood like in the camp of the NDC?
Cautious ecstasy. Cautious ecstasy. We are very excited, but we know that given the state of the economy, Excellency John Dramani Mahama will inherit, it will be very challenging. And we have a duty to meet the expectations of the Ghanaian public, given the extraordinary votes and confidence they have reposed in him. He has to work to justify it with humility, with credibility, and more importantly, honor. And I appreciate that he is governing for the people. But for me, the declaration of the 2024 presidential outcome manifests one important thing. Thank you. It manifests one important thing, that Ghanaians have said no to impunity, no to corruption, no to hardship and cost of living. So Excellency John Dramani Mahama have to be guarded and guided by it to ensure that he does not tolerate. So for me, zero tolerance for all the wrongs of the NPP must be the hallmark of the new Mahama administration. Zero tolerance for all the wrongs of the new Patriotic Party government of Nana Addo Dankwa and Bawumia. So family,
what do you say are some of the
family and friends government, zero tolerance for it. Impunity, zero tolerance for it. Arrogance, zero tolerance for it. Corruption, zero tolerance for it. And then he must work to address unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, given the advantage that the 24-hour economy will bring. But his first Herculean task would be to stabilize the economy, and we pray that he would work to stabilize the Ghanaian economy. But we are cautiously excited. We are happy of the outcome of the results, but we are also aware that the task ahead is Herculean. But John Mahama will succeed, given his background and experience. Former president, he will hit the day running, probably even from today, but officially only when he gets a mandate of mid-19th January. He will hit the ground running.
You admit that it's going to be challenging. You say that it's going to be a Herculean task. Within the first 120 days, in fact, within the first 90 days, he said he's going to scrap what he describes as draconian taxes, the e-levy, the betting tax, and all of that. He's promised quite a number of freebies as well. How is he going to be able to do that?
Fortunately, he has absolute control of Parliament. The numbers look quite good, quite comforting, and he can govern with ease. But fidelity to the Ghanaian people, fidelity to the law and the institution of Parliament, he must ensure value for money, and he must exact accountability for the Ghanaian people, because justice emanates from the people. One of the most fundamental things he can leave as a legacy is holding New Patriotic Party government officials accountable and undertaking some minimal constitutional and administrative reforms that strengthens our public institutions to deliver the public good.
Finally, before I go, you talked about holding the New Patriotic Party, the governing New Patriotic Party, accountable. Officials accountable.
And his own officers too will be accountable.
Great. I want to find out from you, what are the top 5 scandals probably in this governing NPP government that you want him to tackle first?
This matter of Nkrumah as founding father is important, but that's administrative. And you can't rewrite history. I expect that he will undertake an audit and investigation of COVID. He will undertake an investigation of the borrowing, which institutions were behind it, which persons were behind what I did there, which persons were behind it, the borrowing, and who benefited from the borrowing, and what was the justification. Then a number of projects, no value for money, we expect him to do a re-evaluation of all that.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
You just heard from Haruna Iddrisu. Haruna Iddrisu is former minority leader, but we have the minority leader himself, Kasiala Tuforsen, here. Let's speak to him. Let's find out from him what he makes of the NDC's victory that many of them are describing as emphatic, resounding. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell me, what is the mood like right now?
I feel good. I think it's obvious that the people of Ghana wanted a big change. And for me, I see this as the people's revolution. All said and done, the NDC needs to take serious lessons from the outcome of their results. I see a country that is angry. I see a country where the citizens are demanding change from political actors and nothing more. And the status quo cannot be maintained. Going forward, hopefully beginning January 7th, the NDC will start the implementation of policies that will respond to the call from the citizens. That one I can assure you. His Excellency President John Mahama will address the nation in the next few minutes, and in doing so, he will lay out his plan and vision, and coming out from an election where the people have spoken in a way that you cannot avoid. I think let's wait for his speech, and going forward, subsequently the formation of his government and the things we'll be doing going forward. But I can assure you that we'll be guided. The NDC will certainly be guided.
I've been asking a lot of non-finance persons this question, but I think your finance person, and it's right that I ask you. John Mahama promised a lot of freebies in the run-up to the elections. He talked about scrapping what he described as draconian taxes, the e-levy. He talked about the betting tax, the mixing tax, and many others. A lot of Ghanaians are very expectant of that to happen within his first 120 days in the office. The question on the lips of many, how is he going to do that, especially considering that you've all admitted that the country is not in a good place economically. How is he going to be able to finance all of this?
I think it's a promise. It's a promise that he's made. And I can assure you that the first budget of the NDC will scrap the e-levy without a doubt. We are not going back on it. We'll scrap the e-levy. We'll scrap the betting tax. These two taxes will go during our first budget. We are going to present the budget maybe in the first 3 months, and some of these policies will be made known to the public. But I can assure you that we are not going to go back on our promise. His Excellency the President was emphatic, and he said it's going to happen the first 120 days. And there's a reason why he said the first 120 days. Simple put, the first budget. So that's going to happen. We are not going to run away from that. It's a solemn promise from him to the people of Ghana. We are not running away from that.
Finally, did you expect these number of seats that you have won in Parliament? Did you expect that? I remember I spoke to the president-elect when he went to his hometown, Bole to Casablanca, and I asked him the number of seats he's hoping the NDC will win. He said 150, something within 150, and possibly above that. How many seats were you eyeing, and what do you make of the number that you've won?
Our research pointed to something in the region of 160, 169. But we were quite conservative and pegged it to about 150. But today we have overwhelming majority. We have 186 confirmed seats, and it can be 188. Going forward, I think it is the will of the people. The ordinary Ghanaian has spoken. The people of Ghana has spoken in a way that is so clear for all of us to abide by. So we have 186 seats in Parliament. I wouldn't say we did not expect it. I was expecting something, as I said, 160, 169. But getting maybe 20 more seats in excess of that, we can only say thank you to the people of Ghana. And we are happy. We waged a successful campaign. We did well in our campaign. We were emphatic. We expressed what we were going to do clearly. Our manifesto was very open and clear, without ambiguity. And obviously, I can tell you for a fact that I think the people of Ghana bought into our manifesto and voted for us.
Finally, it feels like a half glass, half full, half empty kind of situation. You are obviously an optimist looking at, the benefits of that. There are some pessimists also who say that this is likely to turn Parliament into a rubber stamp.
I don't think so. It is up to the new opposition, the MPP, to position themselves and argue their case out. We never had majority. It was somehow a hung parliament with MPP majority of 1. They were successful in pushing some of their things through. But we in the NDC was also able to argue some cases out and got them to back out. So they can. Based on if they decide to do their work well, they will be able to do, not allow the opposition, the government to, get everything to go through just like that. So I wouldn't say that it's going to be a rubber stamp parliament, but I can only say that the people of Ghana has given the NDC a majority to be able to reset the country. Ghana needs an urgent reset. The status quo cannot continue. That is why we have this overwhelming majority with a big mandate. It is up to the NDC to use this majority well to benefit the people of Ghana. Nothing more, nothing less.
Thank you for talking to us. So you just had Minority Leader Castle Atuforsen there speaking to us. But in the last 30 minutes, we've had quite a number of people joining us here. Still on the days, you can see former Deputy Chief of Staff Valerie Sawyer there. You can see Kwame Agoja also there on the days. Former Finance Minister Seth Stakpa is also here. General Secretary of the party, Fifi Kwete, is also here. But I've seen Seth Stakpa, former Finance Minister Seth Stakpa. Let's talk to him. Sir, you're welcome to JoyNews. Yeah. Tell me, what's the mood like for you? Mr. Taylor?
Oh, it's quite ecstatic. I think it's a joyful mood here, and I believe that it is understandable. But there is, for those of us with our background, we also know the task ahead, the difficulty ahead. But nonetheless, I believe that there is an overwhelming, confidence reposed, in the president-elect, former President Mahama.
Yes. As a former finance minister, I think it's also right for me to ask you this. The main issue that played out in this election, obviously, was about the economy and what people were feeling, in their pockets. John Mahama, once again, I've been asking this question over and over and again, but I still want to ask you. John Mahama has promised a lot of freebies. First-year students in our universities are not going to pay fees. He's promised to scrap a lot of taxes. You've been a former finance minister. Don't you get worried when you hear some of these things? Are you not scared about what is likely, to happen, especially when you admit that the economy is not in a better place?
There is a certain rationality behind the measures which are misunderstood. And let me explain the taxes. Up to 2016, we had levies which were brought in anytime we had to do austerity, and they were taken out. Secondly, when the value-added tax was introduced, about 18 taxes were subsumed, cancelled, and subsumed in a VAT. This included GETS fund. Actually, the GETS fund and the NHIL, which became straight levies, were part of the VAT. Now, the flaw in reintroducing many of these taxes is that you make it difficult for the tax regime to be administered, and you make it difficult for taxpayers to comply with the tax because it becomes very complex. If you have to account for 23 different, taxes, as His Excellency counted during the campaign. What we are talking about is going back to the rationalization of the 1980s and 90s under the SAP ERP and making sure that the tax is dependent on the 4 pillars, which are income tax, VAT, tariffs or customs duty, and excise duty. These are the pillars of the tax regime. And if I may inform you that the tax to GDP ratio until 2023, when we entered the fund program, had been stagnant since 2015. That was the highest. And it tells you, therefore, that these levies and others that were introduced have rather made the tax regime less buoyant. Less buoyant in the sense that, remember that from 2017, we were supposed to expand the economy better and raise more taxes with 3 additional oil fields. Now, when it comes to the other measures, remember that it is this administration that also destroyed the buffers that were built to make the economy resilient. To your last question, now there is a rationalization, I'm using the word, advisedly, that is to take place with elementary, secondary, tertiary education in this country, right? Remember that our approach with a progressively free education was to populate the country with day schools, as is done in the advanced countries, where you debondize as much as possible, of course over a transitional period. Therefore, you will see that if you expanded day schools into the communities, as Nkrumah did, remember, with his private schools, with his secondary schools, which of course had boarding, you will be reducing the cost of implementation of education. And it is with these savings that you are able, as the president explained, to help poor kids. What's the point in going to secondary school if you cannot, in the first year, enter tertiary until you are able to move on to the student.
Okay, so for the ordinary Joe on the streets of Accra and other parts of the country, I'm sure the question obviously on your minds right now is it possible? Is it feasible? Is it going to happen? All those taxes that John Mahama promised is going to scrap within his first 120 days.
I just told you. No, there were two groups of taxes. There were, to use the word, nuisance taxes that were to go in 120 days. The other ones will be phased out. Remember we're also in a fund program, and we have to be sure. If you do, you will end up, not having the. So there's a rationalization. There is a timetable for the immediate ones and then the other one. But let me also point out.
So it's going to happen.
Yes, it has to happen because it happened before, right? And for the ordinary man who is saying, how can you achieve this? Let us remind them that deficit was 6.1 at Mahama before it got to 15%. Debt was 57% at Mahama before it got, to over 100% with the contingency funds. Inflation was lower. Take all the indices, right? And therefore, what we are saying is that they were not the best, the ideal that we wanted to get to, but taking them back to that is something that was done, that was achievable.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You just had former Finance Minister Seth Tekpe there saying it is possible. It is possible to scrap some of the draconian taxes, some of the taxes described by John Mahama as draconian. We have also here with us right now the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Kwete. Let's speak to him. Mr. Kwete, we are live on JoyNews.
Thank you very much.
Tell me, this time, the 2024 campaign, the NDC campaign, we saw a lot of retail politics. The campaign was decentralized, where we had the top brass of the party in different groups campaigning all across in different regions. Did this reflect in the numbers that you saw, in the number of votes that you saw?
Yeah, let me begin by first thanking the people of Ghana, and I'm sure my flag bearer will be doing that very appropriately very soon. But let me, as General Secretary of the party, express deep gratitude to the people of Ghana. As the General Secretary, I'm fully aware that this victory is not just a victory it's not just about the NDC. It's the popular will of the people. It's the voice of the people. And I want to, on behalf of the party, pledge that we will remain conscious of that and remain grounded every step of the way, and ensuring that we do what is right by Ghana. It's not a victory for NDC per se, even though, of course, NDC is in the forefront of it. It's a victory above all for the people of Ghana, and we want to remain conscious of that. And in light of that, to also apologize for some of the, should I call it, unbridled jubilation that happened in some quarters, and where some of our people have tended to take the law into their hand, and to simply, tell them that we are quickly coming to terms with that and letting them appreciate that it is about Ghana, it's not just about the party. Yeah, but the strategy, I would say, we needed to appreciate that in order to win, we needed to go just beyond talking to our own people. Just preaching to the same choir does not really bring exactly what we expect. So we wanted to reach Ghana in as much as we can. I would think that really has worked a lot. And the message has gone round, resonated, and the results has been overwhelming, way beyond our expectation.
What lessons is the NDC picking from what has happened, from this resounding victory? Obviously, I'm sure you're also picking some lessons from the camp of your opponent.
Yeah, the lesson is simple, and this party was a party that actually was always founded on a certain clarion call. And that clarion call has always been that power belongs to the people. That's who we have always been. Over time, as a result of what I call the vicissitudes of life, the party own values have kind of declined a bit. But for quite a bit now, some of us have tried to instill back that consciousness that we need to reconnect back to the very popular will of the people. And the lesson is simple, that any party that does not understand that power belongs to the people and only they decide who leads, that party clearly will face the tsunami that MPP faced. So it's our responsibility to constantly retrace our path back to the original quintessential values of our party, which is about anchoring everything we do on the will of the people, showing them the respect, appreciating that they are not fools. They know what is right, listening to them, and being able to tell the truth. Even when we are wrong, being humble enough to accept that we are wrong in order to be able to do what is right. That's a lesson. And NPP unfortunately felt that the politics of deception, the politics of arrogance, the condescending politics that makes you want to lie to people thinking that they are not smart. You can lie to them, you can deceive them, you can gaslight them. At the end of the day, they've come to know that you can fool all the people sometimes, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. And the people of Ghana have reacted with what I call volcanic eruption, very similar to the kind of volcanic eruption we've had in the past. And I'm hoping to God that for the sake of our democracy, NPP will learn its lesson very, very seriously. NDC, of course, will be guarded, and the country becomes the better if all the key political parties appreciate the need for that humility and appreciate that ultimately, even though power comes from above, power is always deposited in the masses and the people of Ghana.
Thank you for talking.
It's a pleasure.
You just had a general secretary for the NDC, Fifi have equated there, but still on the days, you can see the top brass of the party of the NDC. Up there, you can see former Chief of Staff Julius Debra interacting right now with former Chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu Ampofo. Seated closely to them is Professor Joshua Alabi, who was the chairman for the John Mahama campaign. Behind them, you can see Edward Omadebuama, director of He's there with the chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esiedun Ketia. Also there, it's Valerie Sawyer. We'll be interacting with Dr. Omadebuama shortly. They're still waiting for the arrival of the President-elect John Mahama.
It's a day full of excitement. So at this stage you can dance. As we wait for our father, the President-elect, to get here.
We'll also interact. Let's show you what is happening here. So that's what you see on the days, but also party supporters gathered here, waving flags, waiting for the arrival of John Mahama. Welcome to JoyNews. What's the feeling like for you right now?
It's a great feeling. Winning this election in such a manner, landslide. This is what Obama called shellacking, landslide victory. And for us, it's a demonstration that the people of Ghana cannot get destroyed with, that our democracy must be sustained, that when officialdom become arrogant, the people of Ghana will teach you a lesson. The NPP government became just too arrogant. Let's face it, you take the pensions of people, you take their bonds, and when they cry, you refuse to listen, sending many of them to their graves. And as we speak today, many of them are still struggling to be able to take care of their medical bills. This is something that an NDC administration would never contemplate implementing. Again, until this government came into being, everyone thought in this country that bonds were safe. This government has proven that bonds are not safe. President Mahama will ensure financial stability. President Mahama will ensure that there are well-sustaining and well-paying jobs in our country. President Mahama has a strong message for the MPP. Just as he and his appointees stayed in the country when we left office in 2009, the MPP stayed in Ghana so that they will be able to account for their stewardship. We stayed in the country and accounted for our stewardship. We do not expect anything less from them. Last but not least, President Mahama is promising a very, very lean government. A government that will not exceed more than 60 ministers. And he's very, very committed to it. That his government will not exceed more than 60 ministers. He's also emphatic that he will abolish ex gratia. These and many other things are things that President Mahama is going to provide to the good people of Ghana and treat Ghanaians with utmost respect.
Thank you for talking to us. You just had Dr. Edward Mahama, Director of Elections and IT for the NDC. Professor Joshua Allah, the chairman of the 2024 John Mahama campaign, dancing. He's up on his feet dancing. Let's speak to him. Never seen him in this mood before. On the campaign trail, I never saw him smiling or anything. Prof, we are live on JoyNews. Tell me, what's the mood like for you?
Yeah?
What's the mood like for you right now? The mood for you?
Oh, I'm very happy. I'm very happy because in the Bible they said, "Let my people go." You see? So we are going. We have won the election. We have won the election for the good people of this country. We have won the election to reset this country. We have won this election to build the Ghana we want. You follow? We have a leader who is not going to tell them lies. He is going to organize a series of meetings with the good people of this country to define a really good path and to open up the economy to everybody. Then collectively, we understand the real issue and move along together. So the one good thing about the good leader is to carry the people along. And that comes from an effective communication, respect and understanding. And that's how we're going to rebuild this economy.
Finally, what strategies did you deploy to cause this political tsunami?
We call it the multi-system. The multi-system strategy.
Okay.
You see, when we lost the 2020 election, we realized that 2024 will be a done deal for us. Because with all what they did, suppress voter registration, pump a lot of money into the system, we put them from 169 to 137, right? And we reduced the gap. You follow? So it was clear that with all what they did, we can bring them down. We even believe we won, but the court said no. So we have to look at the new strategy. So we did branch audits, especially in Ashanti and history. Because in 2020, we had some polling stations where we had 9 branches, 9 executives, but we scored 0 there. So it meant that they were not our people. So we did branch audits. For example, I went to Muslim Fremu from every polling station. I went to Kwabri East, every polling station. I went to Sobin, every polling station. Other colleagues did the same. Then we got to know the nature. After that, we divided Ashanti region into 5 regions. Yeah, 5. 47 constituencies, 5 regions, giving respect to every region as a full region and attention. You follow? Then after that, we spread out. The flag bearer took a team, the running mate took a team, the national chairman took a team. Then all these were supported by the national youth organizer and a team, the national organizer and a team, and with other small teams. So we spread out. In fact, we didn't allow them breathing space. So we are not surprised at the result. We worked for it, and we have it.
Thank you for talking to us. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
We just heard from Professor Joshua Alabi, chairman for the John Mahama campaign. Let's see if we can talk to Mr. Julius Debra. He rarely speaks. Let's see if today he will talk to us. Mr. Debra, you're welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you very much for having me.
I am particularly excited that we get a chance to speak to you because you rarely speak.
Well, I felt like speaking today because, you know, the joy of having the mandate and being able to make things happen is what is resonating with me. I'm so excited about President Mahama's new direction. And believe you me, campaigning is over, rhetorics are over, and we are going to deliver. When I say we are going to deliver, I mean what I'm saying. And that's what is making me so happy, because we are getting the opportunity, the people's mandate, to prove the point, to create the job, to bring up the industries, and to expand our agro-processing. That is the new key. I can bet on it.
You are former chief of staff, and John Mahama has promised that the number of ministers and deputy ministers will not exceed 60. Is that possible?
It's highly possible. I tell you what, even the United States, they are not beyond 19. What needs to happen are people who will make things happen. It's not necessarily about the title, it's not necessarily about the post. Of course, it's prestigious, but what he intends doing is to deliver. This government is going to be run like a task force, where we set the tax and get a goal, target, and achieve it. And believe you me, with a limited number of seats, we will definitely follow it and make it work. You'll be so impressed. You'll be impressed.
Thank you for talking to us. Yeah. I told you, this is your election headquarters. We definitely got a rare interview with the former chief of staff, Julius Deborah. He rarely speaks, like I mentioned. He just spoke to us.
Right.
The president-elect, John Mahama, has just arrived here.
Ladies and
you can hear the
gentlemen,
sirens.
The moment we've been waiting for is here.
You can hear the sirens. The president-elect, John Mahama,
of the Republic of Ghana,
has just arrived here at his campaign office in Cantonment.
The nation builder is here.
I don't think you can hear the sirens blaring, but we can hear it from where we are. And now they are clearing the barricades to make way for him. This is the moment a lot of NDC members have been waiting for. The inner perimeter is going to be cleared to make way for him. John Mahama on the campaign trail said he saw victory on the horizon. I remember that event at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. It was a meeting and interaction with municipal and district demands to do your work. He said he was seeing victory on the horizon. He said he was able to tell because in 1996, in 2000, in 2004, he contested as member of parliament for the Bolibamboy constituency. And he says anytime victory is on the horizon, there will be signs. And for this election,
security, those behind this,
he said he saw the sign.
Security.
Mobile phones, all mobile phones up now.
Those standing must leave now.
The steady stream of supporters we saw entering these premises have metamorphosed into a sea of jubilance. NDC supporters all clad in white, symbolizing the victory that they've waited and prayed for. It's a momentous occasion for many of them, and they obviously have to capture the moment. So mobile phones out, a lot of them have their mobile phones out, ready to capture the president-elect. John Mahama should be arriving shortly. Now the convoy is making its way here.
His Excellency is here. The President-elect of the good people of Ghana. Oh, what a day! What a day! What a day the Lord has made!
And may the heavens rescue this land. We need a man with vision to lead. John Mahama is the man for us. Oh, Ghana needs a change. Mama, I'm sorry and let us rise for a change. Ghana needs the best thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, shall we all remain standing? Shall we rise to our feet? His Excellency is here, accompanied by the Vice President-elect of the Republic of Ghana. Please remain standing.
The President-elect, John Mahama, is here. Soon he will be stepping out.
And we are coming to live from the campaign office of John Dramani Mahama, the president-elect. And as you can see there, the flags of the NDC waving and flapping in the wind, which really has been a wind of change. Has been sweeping all across Ghana, bringing in a lot of green. And somebody was making the point to me that it's a tsunami, yes, but tsunamis, they don't sweep that upland. I mean, they sweep across the coast, you know, but for tsunamis to reach all the way to Ashanti region, where is the coast there? But it's been there too. And John Dramani Mahama is seated in his vehicle. The convoy is driving all the way. And we are now just waiting for the vehicle doors to be opened for him to now walk to that stage where he will be delivering his acceptance speech pretty shortly, and we'll be all over this for you here on your election headquarters. And many party supporters, his ordinary rank and file, but also the senior members of the party, members of parliament are all there waiting to hear what he has to say. On the day when history has been made, he's made history. He has beaten the incumbent party's candidate by more than 1.6 million votes. Unprecedented, never happened before. But JM is the beneficiary of that. The Ghanaian people have overwhelmingly given him a mandate to lead. And the turnout, as we know now, is 60.9%, which, again, is a reflection of where we are as a country. It's always been the case when a party, an incumbent, is ending their the second term. It tends to be one that brings in a low turnout, which is what we've seen this year also. Listen to us on Joy 99.7 FM. You're here on your election headquarters, but you're also live across our many social media platforms, indeed. And we're going to be staying with you throughout the period. My guests are still with me. The head of the political science department at the University of Ghana is with me. Professor Iddrisu and Winston Amwa and Raymond Akwa. We're watching and waiting to see what John Mahama will have to say. Prof, what do you expect him to say?
I think he will thank Ghanaians and his party for reposing that huge confidence in him. And I think he will tell them that he will be able to deliver. I suspect he may mention the environment, the political economic environment within which he's expected to deliver, and perhaps a little bit of maybe a plan or what he intends to do. So I think maybe that's largely what I expect him. Acknowledging Ghanaians for their victory, speaking to the expectations, and then the context within which the expectations will be delivered. And then I'm not sure what else.
Yeah. I obviously expect him, big picture, to be magnanimous. Mm-hmm. I don't expect him to gloat.
True.
I expect him to be humble in victory, especially because of his own background. He's been there before. But I also expect him to speak about the task ahead, which is going to be, he's received a monumental mandate, a significant, unprecedented victory, but he's also going to have an unprecedented challenge. Mm-hmm. No president-elect in our history has been set up to tackle a crisis like he's about to take on.
You mean to fail?
Well, I think it's been set up to face a crisis, to deal with a crisis from day one.
It's true that, and I'm expecting a very conciliatory position from him.
Yeah.
I'm also expecting that he's not going to be playing up expectation. Indeed, I'm expecting John Dramani Mahama to start being real, truthful, honest with the people right from day one. This day will set the stage for whether or not we're having a government or a president who is more interested in fixing the problems of this country, or is interested in, making his people feel good. And it will come from what happens with the appointments and everything following that. I am expecting him to say, I know the tax ahead is difficult, it will be arduous, it will be a very serious tax. I am up to the tax because I will do my utmost best. I'm not going to do family and friends. I'm not. We won the election. But the evidence on the ground shows that Ghanaians are massively sending a message to the entire political class. That message I got very well. I'm not going to repeat. The fact that people were in my campaign, they will not necessarily be the one driving policy when they are bereft of any proper understanding of policy. The fact that people merely help me out, they're not going to be taking positions. And I expect him to also condemn these vandalism and the things happening across the country. Call people to order and say there is a new leader of the party who will not countenance some of these things.
Let's go live now. Let's go live to John Mahama's residence, the venue for his anticipated acceptance speech.
Authority leader, recognize the presence of the former national chairman of the NDC, Dr. Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo. Recognize the presence of the former Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Doe Jaho. Recognize the presence of all Council of Elders and members of the political committee. Recognize the presence of all former appointees. And we specially recognize the presence of the Chief Executive Officer of the great NDC, our General Secretary, Honorable Fifi Fiavikwete. We also recognize specially the presence of our National Chairman, General Mosquito, Honorable Johnson Asiedun Ketia. We recognize the presence of the manager of John Mahama's campaign team, Professor Joshua Alabi. We recognize the presence of former Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Deborah. All dignitaries and leading figures of the party are hereby acknowledged. All elected members of parliament on the ticket of the great NDC, we acknowledge your presence. At this stage, we are going to start our program. And so I'll crave your indulgence to be decorous so that we can begin. And to set the ball rolling is a man who has been very instrumental in the campaign leading to the victory we are celebrating today. Our national chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, with a rousing round of applause, welcome to the microphone our national chairman, Honorable Johnson Asiedun Ketia, to give us brief remarks. No, I can't hear your shouts. I can't hear your applause. General Mosquito is coming. This man went to all the 276 constituencies of Ghana. He went to over 1,000 communities. He's our national chairman, and we are proud of him. Another round of applause for him as he climbed the stage. Thank you. Shall we all remain silent now?
Your Excellency, Your Excellency, the President-elect, President John Dramani Mahama, Your Excellency, the Vice President-elect, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, all protocols duly observed. I believe that today is the day of President John Dramani Mahama, and there will be no space for long speeches at all. So I've just come here to thank all of you and thank the foot soldiers of this party, the branch executives of the party, the constituency executives of the party, regional executives of the party, and the national executives of the party, and by extension to all previous executives of the National Democratic Congress. As I said in Medina some 3 days ago, I believe that the party has never seen this level of total mobilization of its rank and file to fight and achieve a purpose. And at long last, the battle has ended. And the great elephant has been slaughtered mercilessly. But as we enjoy the victory, I want to specially mention for special commendation the technical staff of our headquarters who managed this election very, very successfully. I mean the directors of elections, the directors of IT, and all other persons who played a role in managing this election. Let me advise that we should be modest in our celebrations, because I can almost feel the weight of responsibility on our shoulders. Ghanaians have given us this mandate to accomplish the task of national reconstruction. And so nobody should tell us the weight of responsibility that we have. We cannot afford to disappoint them. So in the coming weeks, let us try and cut short our celebrations and begin planning seriously how to rescue our dear country. I thank you very much, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make it great and strong. Thank you.
Thank you, General. A round of applause. A round of applause for the National Chairman. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Distinguished friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Akatamansonians, it is now time for us to hear from our mother, a woman of substance, a woman of valor, the pride of the Ghanaian woman, a woman of great accomplishments, the first female vice president-elect of the Republic of Ghana, Her Excellency, Professor Nana J. Opoku Ajema. Let me hear your shout. Let me hear your shout. The women here, let me hear your shout. It's a great day for Ghanaian women. A great day for Ghanaian women. Yes. Yes. Our mother is here. Give it up to our mother again, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman.
What an interesting journey it has been. And you know, nobody sets out on a journey by herself or even by himself. It has been a very, very interesting one. And I want to thank all of you, those who are here, those who are not here. I want to thank all of them for their good wishes, for their prayers, for their contributions in many, many ways, and for bringing all of us to this site. All I have to say is thank you very much. Thank you very much for everything you have done. And whatever you did, as our chairman has said, the fun is over, the work is about to begin. And as we journey together, we need to realize that we have to move forward also together. Again, I want to thank you. My nomination has many, many implications. You know, normally, no one even expects you to err in any way. If this will happen, and we know it will happen, it means all of us are on board. The victory is for all of us, but especially for our daughters, for our youth, for our women. Sorry I have to appear in a mask because I have a very, very bad cold. But the cold will disappear too. I know this is a big responsibility, and I don't intend to travel this journey by myself. You are all part of it. NDC is an inclusive party, and we are demonstrating it in many ways. My job was to have opened the door, and it doesn't end there. Actually, that is where the work began. I will hold the door open. The method of opening the door, the method of holding the door open, so others wish to travel that door, is what I'm implying. It is not a self-aggrandizing position. It is a position that empowers others. This country is not going to be built only by half the gender. They know very well, whether we are in the public space or not, the roles we play. And we have accepted as NDC to facilitate the process. I'm counting on all of you, that you all come along, you all work hard in your various spaces, and finally, that we put smiles on people who either have no access or who are not very respected. I thank you again and again, and I know, thank you for the comments. I wish blessings on our country. I wish blessings on our children, those who are here and those yet to be born. I wish blessings on those who are here and their future. And I believe that the meaning of blessing is to be good to another person. Thank you very, very much.
You can do better than that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shall we all remain silent at this stage? We've gotten to the moment we've all been waiting for. We've gotten to the moment we've all been waiting for. We've gotten to the moment we've all been waiting for. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who has served this nation throughout his life. A man who served as president of the Republic of Ghana between 2012 and 2016. He was voted out, and some said he could not be president again. Some even mocked him and said he is the only person to have become a one-term president. But ladies and gentlemen, today, the Lord who crowned kings has given him the presidency again. And the stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. It is the doing of the Lord, and it is marvelous in our sight. We call him the nation builder, and this nation builder will lead all of us to build the Ghana we want together. Ladies and gentlemen, with a standing ovation and shouts of joy, make welcome to the microphone our father, the flag bearer, and the leader of the great NDC, the president-elect of the people of Ghana, the president-elect of the Republic of Ghana, and by the grace of God, he will be sworn in as the 6th president of the Republic of Ghana. His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency, let me see your hand. His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, the president-elect of the Republic of Ghana, the 6th president of the Republic of Ghana incoming. Our strength in unity. His Excellency is accompanied by the incoming First Lady, our Mother, Her Excellency, Lordina Mahama.
Thank you. Thank you. Our best days are ahead of us. My brothers and sisters, a while ago, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, Madame Jean Mensah, declared me the winner of the 2024 presidential election. I give thanks and praise to the Almighty God because this successful outcome can only be the doing of the Lord. I'd like to thank the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, for his statesmanship in conceding the election long before the declaration of the results by the Electoral Commission. This concession largely diffused the tensions that are characteristic of high-stakes elections such as this. I also just received a call from His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He graciously extended his congratulations to me, and we had the opportunity to discuss matters related to the Joint Transitional Team. We agreed on an early inauguration of the Joint Transitional Team as early as Wednesday, the 11th of December. I conveyed my sincerest regards to him and expressed my readiness for us to work together to ensure a smooth transition in the best interest of the Ghanaian people. The results of this election, as declared today by the Electoral Commissioner, show that the National Democratic Congress, with me, John Dramani Mahama, as leader, has just chalked one of the most emphatic victories in the electoral history of the Fourth Republic. We have therefore been bestowed with a very outstanding mandate by the good people of Ghana. I'm deeply honored and humbled to receive such an overwhelming endorsement from the Ghanaian people. And I wish to thank all who made this possible by going out to vote for me. I thank all Ghanaians, both at home and abroad, for your continued belief in our democracy, despite the severe crisis our nation is going through. I also congratulate our parliamentary candidates who have also swept the electoral landscape with a very resounding victory. I have a legion of thanks to give for this emphatic electoral success. And let me begin again by thanking the Almighty God, the creator of heaven and earth, for protecting and preserving us through this whole campaign period. And to paraphrase the psalmist, I also give thanks to God for preparing a table before me Obviously, you are all very acquainted with this Bible verse. I also give thanks to God for preparing a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And for anointing my head with oil. And making my cup run over. I next have to give my thanks to my wife, Lodina, and my family, my children, my siblings, and all my extended family for standing by me through all these difficult times when victory and success appeared elusive and out of sight. On these gloomy occasions, you have all come through and offered me the encouragement to keep soldiering on. I'd like to thank the Vice President-elect, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, for being an exemplary and inspirational running mate. Nana, your decency, your humility, and your sense of responsibility added so much to this campaign. The eyes of every young girl and woman, not only in Ghana, but in nations across this continent and the world, are going to be on you from today. And as you said, you have not only opened the door, but you're going to keep the door open for many other women. Your name has become synonymous with breaking boundaries. And like I said, you have opened the door of opportunity for many of our female citizens. Because of you, the people of Ghana can today celebrate the fact that we have made history by electing our first woman as Vice President. I must also thank my very loyal and dedicated staff who have been with me over the last 8 years in opposition for the sacrifice and hard work they have put into this endeavor. To my campaign team members, to our party agents, and the countless volunteers who spent uncountable hours day and night working to secure this victory, I cannot thank you enough. To our Council of Elders, the gallant leadership of the National Democratic Congress, led by Chairman Johnson Asiedu Nketia, our able General Secretary, Fifi Fiavikwete, and our general membership. I'm deeply grateful for your dedication and commitment to this cause and your willingness to give everything to ensure success in this election. To all the religious leaders who prayed for me, and there are too many to mention, at the appropriate time I'll acknowledge them individually. To all the religious leaders who prayed for me, to all the prophets who prophesied my victory, to all the civil society organizations and professional groups we consulted in building our message, to all our traditional leaders who warmly received me in your palaces during the campaign, to all our security personnel across the country, and to the media, to you all, I say a big thank you. To Mrs. Jean Mensah and her staff of the Electoral Commission, the IGP and his Elections Security Task Force, our international observers, and all who have contributed to a very successful election, I convey to you the warmest wishes of a grateful nation. For all its historic undertones, this mandate represents many things for all political actors and those who seek to lead our nation. It shows that the Ghanaian people have little tolerance for bad governance, particularly of the sort witnessed in the last 8 years, and that they are willing to take decisive action at critical moments when it matters most. These 8 years have witnessed some of the darkest periods of our governance. The crisis our beloved country has been through these last several years have left a scar on our national psyche, which may take some time to erase. This mandate also serves as a constant reminder of what fate awaits us if we fail to meet the aspirations of our people and govern with arrogance. My brothers and sisters, there is much to do to salvage our country and reset it. It would have to start with a reset of the relationship between citizens and elected officials. We must never forget that the people of Ghana have chosen us to represent their wishes and their best interests. It is the reason we would be initiating important governance reforms and sometimes initiate severe measures in the next 4 years to reset our nation and bring it back on track as the Black Star of Africa. The journey is not going to be easy, my brothers and sisters, because the outgoing government has plunged our dear nation into an abyss. However, we are determined to work together with you to build the Ghana we want. And I am certain that we shall win the battle. We intend to work together to restore the shattered confidence in our politics and governance system. This election and its outcome represents an opportunity for a new beginning as we can begin to write a new chapter of our collective story. We need to consciously set the tone for the new direction in which we will be traveling. My brothers and sisters, I want those words, my brothers and sisters, to be a reminder to all of you, a reminder to me, and to every individual who has just been elected or re-elected, that no matter what office you hold, no matter what your political affiliation is or has been in the past, the one thing we share in common is the nation Ghana. And it is that we want a much better Ghana. We want a Ghana that works for everybody and not just a few people. We want a Ghana that considers the well-being of all her citizens and affords them each the ability to live a life of dignity, a life of limitless opportunity. My brothers and sisters, from the Kaya Yo to the managing director, to the market women, the bankers, the teachers, security personnel, nurses, doctors, the pastors, the drivers, the tailors and seamstresses, we are all essential to the functioning and forward motion of this country. We, the people of this soil, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, are in fact our nation's greatest resource. This country, this land, is not for one person, or for one family, or for one tribe or ethnic group. This country, this beautiful, resilient, and resource-rich country that we so love, Ghana, is for all of us. This is our home, but it is not enough to just be born here and to die here. We must also be able to live here with satisfaction. We must be able to love, to dream, to laugh, to eat and dance and drum and share all aspects of our culture that was handed to us by our ancestors. And to do that, we must create sustainable and well-paying jobs through the 24-hour economy initiative. Our most basic needs must be met. Affordable housing and health care, food and clean water, safe work and fair wages. My brothers and sisters, it is with tremendous humility that I accept this clear mandate that you, the good people of Ghana, have given me to lead this great nation as your next president. Every vote that was cast in this election carried the same weight. Every vote also carried a hope in the future of our country. I promise you that I will assemble and lead a government that will carry the weight of those hopes and dreams, whether you voted for me or not, because every victory is a victory for the people, all of the people. Each time we have free and fair elections and then conduct a smooth transfer of power, it reaffirms that our history of leadership and trailblazing was not an aberration. It is not by accident that we were the first nation in Black Africa to win our independence from colonial rule. It is not by accident that the first black person to serve as UN Secretary General, the late Kofi Annan, was a Ghanaian. It is not by accident that so many Ghanaians out there in the world are blazing new trails and being recognized as leaders in their industry. Despite being a relatively small nation, Ghana has been and will continue to be a mighty force on the world stage. We're a proud people and have every reason to be. When Ghana rises, we all stand tall with her. and Africa rises with us too. Last but certainly not the least, I'd like to thank you, the good people of Ghana, for this opportunity once more. I know that many of you are feeling frustrated and angry, but I ask you today, please do not give in to negativity and pessimism. There have been reports of acts of vandalism at some government facilities and installations. I urge you not to vent your frustration in criminal enterprise. We must channel our anger and frustration into the positive enterprise of resetting and rebuilding our nation. Let us be brief in our celebration, for the weight of office will be an onerous one. Expectations of Ghanaians are very high, and we cannot afford to fail them. Let us maintain and even magnify this joy and positivity that we feel. We have arrived at this moment because so many of you believed that change was possible. And now we know that not only is change possible, but it is also already in process. Let us continue to believe that we are already moving towards the Ghana we want, the Ghana of our hopes and dreams. And in this Ghana where we have turned a new chapter and are setting a new tone, our best days are not behind us. My brothers and sisters, our best days are ahead of us. Forward ever, backwards never. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless our homeland Ghana. Thank you very much. God bless all of you.
Give it up, give it up, give it up to His Excellency. One love, one love, one love.
On your election headquarters, and that there is the acceptance speech by John Dramani Mahama, the president-elect. My colleague, Maxwell Agba, will rejoin us, get a bit more reaction and context to what we just heard there from those who are closest to him, who may have played a role in drafting that particular speech. I still have with me Raymond Winston, but I also have Professor Ali Biseidu. Prof, I want to come to you, and you made a few notes. What stuck out for you?
Okay, so, like you mentioned, his demeanor, humble, magnanimous, and sincere. And I really appreciate the fact that he acknowledged the role the Vice President has played in conceding defeat very early enough to reduce the tension, but also he acknowledging that Ghana is for Ghanaians, and we have a very great human resource that have served, that have become great statesmen across the world, and for the fact that he also talked about the inauguration of the Joint Transition Team and President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo calling him. That is also a serious demonstration of statesmanship. And then lastly, he acknowledging what has happened, the chaotic scenes isolated that we've had, and urging the NDC supporters to redirect their energy towards addressing the challenges that we have as the NDC forms a new government. So I think he has touched on all the very salient points, and then urging his supporters to remain calm, but also acknowledging the statesmanship that has been demonstrated by both the Vice President and the President, and providing the context within which he is going to govern and the challenges ahead. So I think he has touched almost all the very key areas that we're expecting him to address.
Okay, and that's an important point. And Winston, the acknowledgement of the task ahead was strewn across his speech. He actually emphasized that they should be brief in your celebration. Did you get a sense that we were saying in terms of anticipation of the speech, that clearly must be something that he must emphasize?
You know, Evans, and I'm sure Raymond would know this, anytime you go into an election, there are things you would say. But when you're successful, then you realize that, hold on a minute, I have made promises that I must fulfill. Sometimes you make the promises not knowing the full picture. There are times you may also know, but then you expect that these promises will get me there. Then once I get in, I'll take my time and fulfill them. So this is John Mahama telling you that we have work to do and things may not change overnight. That is our reality. Our reality is that, look, he's talking about a 24-hour economy. He says within the first 120 days, he will set in place all the legal and regulatory requirements needed for the 24-hour economy. But he's also told you that a 24-hour economy within the private sector is voluntary. And so, just as, I mean, he's even been very clear with, the 24-hour economy being voluntary. Just as we're told in the past about one district, one factory, and they went ahead with a billboard that indicated towns and the competitive advantage and factories were going to be established, only for the NPP to win power, and then the NPP says they are waiting on the private sector. The truth is that things will not change overnight. The truth is that some of the promises may not be fulfilled. Some of the promises will become difficult to fulfill. And along the line, it would require a good leader to come back and tell the people, you know what? Yes, we wanted to do this, but based on our current circumstances, we can't do that. We've always talked about doing a J. Ekufuor, where at a point in time he apologized to everybody. He said, look, sometimes when you're out of power, you see things different. When you get into power, you then will see the real picture. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to do this, but I can't do this. But hey, one day at a time, and we all would be monitoring. Of course, he will get his honeymoon, but it won't be long because there's a lot to be done.
I doubt he gets a honeymoon, especially if you look at the pace at which even the transition is going to travel. Wednesday, he says. This is what, 2 days away? 2 days away. Wednesday, they're starting, his team is going to meet the government team and the process will start in earnest. And then he's sworn in. The task at hand does not dictate that one gets a honeymoon because Ghanaians are suffering.
Well, the honeymoon he asked for is patience.
Okay.
Yeah, the honeymoon he asked for is patience.
Yeah, I think he will get the patience.
Yes,
I think he will get patience.
That's what I mean when I say he gets the honeymoon.
Yeah, okay.
Because your first year, people are a bit patient with you, and we know the magnitude of the problem.
But you know what would sort of pave the way for that patience to come? It's also the conduct of the appointees and the caliber of people he appoints and the way they conduct themselves in the next 1 year. I think that is really what will create the space. I don't think he has earned the patience yet. It really would come in the signaling from the conduct, the body language, the people he's appointing.
Let me tell you something before Raymond comes in. This is what will earn him the patience. And watch the social contract with Ghanaians. A lot of the things he puts in there are things that are not difficult to fulfill. Scrapping of e-levy is not difficult to fulfill. Betting tax, not difficult. Emissions levy, not difficult.
I don't think so. I have a slightly different opinion on that.
Well, I'll tell you why it's not difficult. It is not difficult because you can go to Parliament and in your budget, your main budget in March, indicate you're going to abolish these.
Except that, remember that...
By March, would it be within or outside the 120?
Yeah, but
March would be within the 120.
But that for me is not even the complication. The complication is finding how
to
replace and plug that hole you will leave when you take those off the table. Considering that you still have an IMF program, considering that he will find a pretty empty coffers for the country when he takes over. When the reality hits him, when he now gets a full appreciation of the kitty, right? And what is coming and what is going out, it won't be that easy when they sit now to do the calculation, how much you're losing from taking this off, and can we... I don't think it's that simple. Well, Raymond.
Okay, I'll come back to that because you can sometimes do it. You, Raymond, you go ahead.
Yeah.
First, if you make promises of this kind, and that's your first step, if you buy the bullets and you're able to actually implement them, I actually think the very first thing that people will be looking out for is Mahama going to have an inflated government? Inflated government of foot soldiers and people from different walks of life that everybody knows the only reason why they are in government is to just go and line their pockets. That signal, if he actually does that, people will begin to now mark him as equally no different from what happened previously. Secondly, what's the body language of the people he's appointing? Are they dismissive of people's opinions? Are they going to depart from the very things he has said himself? Are they going to be riding around with all of these V8s when people have difficulties on their own and they are not resolving it? Will people around him all of a sudden make millions, swim in riches, be the living luxurious lives when the rest of us are being asked to wait for some things to change? Those signals, they are cues. They are cues that no matter what you do, people will still think you are taking them for granted or you are exploiting the gains of state to your private need. That is what he should avoid. President Mills had a term for it. He said ostentatious and profligate lifestyle. And some of that was indicated during the campaign. That is why you say you appoint 60. I actually think 60 is a big number. If you can whittle it down more, you should bring it down more. There's no need merely putting people in place because they work with you during campaign. I mean, this is a governance you're running. Some of the people, if it was Mahama's private business, you will not put them in there because they are merely filling offices. They are not people of policy. They are not extraordinary brains to transform. And there's nothing also wrong with Mahama reaching out to other people who are not members of his political party for the state Ghana's interest to help him deliver the good of state. Those are signals when you indicate right from the beginning, others will love you. They'll think that you mean business. And even if you don't achieve all the things you set out to achieve, they will believe a bit of the things you intend to do. Intentions matter. That's what you have expressed.
Yeah.
The important part is that the action is not one that signals we have gotten all for ourselves, winner takes all strategy. We have actually put everybody out of the picture and are not listening to anybody. The last government, the outgoing government, suffered, I said the last government, almost like this is his inaugural speech.
Yes.
The last government suffered this idea that everybody in this country was not brilliant enough. That the only intelligent people were the ones in government. Their views mattered more than any other person. They were the be-it-all, they were the all-in-all, and they could devise and do whatever they wanted. That theory, if you continue in that line, you are bound to fail in the 4 years and have a terrible legacy. It will also show, indeed, if he decides that, oh, well, I am president now, so I'm bringing more family members into government. All of a sudden, we'll be told that you too, because you are related to some Gonja chief, your grandfathers have so many children, and all of the nonsense we hear about justifying nepotism. If he goes that line, people would, from the beginning, oppose him. Because it doesn't make sense that government becomes a private project for a few people and their friends and their family and whoever they can find within their circle. Then it becomes like the rest of us are third-class citizens. Whatever you do, even though we are paying taxes, taxation without representation. We are not part of the governance project, but every time you call upon us to pay taxes and be part of the money-giving system. If that continues, Mahama will fail. And I got the sense from him that he's alive to that responsibility. Except that our politics in such a way, and we know the people who are popular, businessmen whose business is only infiltrate political parties and go and get whatever they want from it. Some of them, every government, they are in there. If Mahama shows that he doesn't want to deal with those people, I'll be very excited. In fact, to me, it's one of the earliest signals. Those contracts that go and clean here, then they take huge amount of money and do nothing. Go and buy dustbins and they are doing. If Mahama departs from those ones, some of us will be convinced that he's not business as usual kind of leader and that he means a different trend. Even if he doesn't reduce inflation to single digits, I will be convinced that he intends doing something reasonable. But not when the same set of people, whether NDC or MPP, they have come back, they are still running state, they are getting all state contracts, they are fleecing the state, they are inflating contracts, and they are behaving as if the country belongs to they and their friends and those in government that they partner with. If he does that, we will be here We will see what the people will do to him. In fact, if Mahama leaves office with the worst of what they call it, electoral outcome that happened previously, it will be a big shame. Because he, more than any other person, should know better. Because you've tested both sides in 2016, and now you are back to correct and have a better legacy.
As we wrap up, I want to go back to the residents, the official residents of the Ablikuma, rather the Mahama campaign office, where he just delivered his acceptance speech, and bring in my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, who is standing by. As you can see, it's still a party atmosphere there. But let's get a bit more from those key party individuals who have been very close to John Dramani Mahama, who understands a bit more about his mindset tonight as he goes into the beginning of the transition process from Wednesday. Hello, Maxwell.
Well, it's the top brass of the party. Many of them have left now. It's a celebratory mood right here. The atmosphere is electric. With the sound system here, blaring out loud music, John Mahama music. And you can see these young ones dancing to the music. There's a lot of jubilation, a lot of celebration, which is expected to go deep into the night. Let's speak to some of the people here. Hello, sir. What's your name?
Before you are check.
What's your name, sir?
They say you didn't know somebody are from for.
What's your name? What's your name?
Nana Kwame. I live in Tama. You happy before you are check. This time you feel you didn't know you happy before you are from for.
Oh no, wait. I think this gentleman is on. He's on another level. Hi, what's your name? Hi, second.
It's kind of a mixed feeling. It's a mixed feeling because we saw it coming, but not so overwhelmingly. But all glory be to God. A lot of kids were on point. I think the IT guys were seriously on point, and that also helped us. For the first time, NDC had their results 4 hours after the election, and that's amazing. Dr. Manibama should be credited for all the amazing work that we've done for me.
If you've been watching John Mahama's Facebook page, anytime he goes to a community to campaign, he goes live on his Facebook. He's one of the people behind the main cameras who've been providing that feed. You traveled across the length and breadth of the country with John Mahama. It was very tiring.
Yeah.
Tell me, and let's talk, where did you get the energy to still continue with the work?
You see, when you are dedicated to a cause, even when the going becomes tough, you still want to try to get the work done. For instance, you see, it is loyalty. It is loyalty. You need to be loyal to your boss. And that's exactly what was carrying some of us on. Even when the going becomes tough, remember that, okay, the person you are following is not tired. How about you saying you are tired? So you just have to, soldier on and get the work done. Yes.
Thank you for talking to us. Yeah. Like I mentioned, the atmosphere here is electric. It's a jamboree now. Celebration, free for all, dancing, music, powder, everything you can think of. And there are some celebratory fireworks also up there in the air. We want to show you a bit of that. Some fireworks up there. Hi, what's your name? What's your name, sir? What's your name?
My name's Eric.
You're very happy.
Yeah.
Why are you happy?
Oh, yeah. This is really there. I'm so happy with this video. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Why are you happy? Why are you happy? You can imagine. He's overwhelmed with joy. Let's speak to more people.
Bishop.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Oh, Master, I'm highly excited. Master, we suffered for so many years. 8 years ago. Master, it's not easy to be a man in Ghana. All men will turn into women in Ghana. Baba, all men in Ghana are turned to women. But today, this is the second independence of Ghana. The second independence after Kwame Nkrumah. Today, we have our independence today. We are liberated today. Master,
what do you mean when you say all men have turned into women?
Master, your pay. What can you do with your pay? When they give you a salary, are you able to cater with your family with your salary? It cannot be. Things are very difficult. But today, God has taken out of these people. Master, I am so excited. Even if this government didn't give me anything, if I'm able to do my own work, I work, I make money, I can take good care of my families. I'm good. I am very highly good.
We have another gentleman I want to talk to. Okay. What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?
Michael. I come from I'm so excited. Look, this victory is for the whole Ghanaians. This is Ghana against NPP. You can see the massive turnout. So we are happy because of a 24-hour economy is coming. The 24 hours is coming. Everybody is going to get a job. So I get all the Ghanaians to relax. We are resetting Ghana. Everybody is going to be happy. This is the time for us to operate Operation Aura. So I thank everybody. So everybody, thank you. This is the time. Aura, Operation Retrieve All Loot. Operation Retrieve All Loot is happening. We thank everybody.
My brain be bola. I go protect you like soldier.
The residents there at Mahama's campaign office where he delivered his acceptance speech. And Winston, you were analyzing that speech and you were making the point about keeping to that contract that he had laid out in his first few days.
Yeah, and I was going to make the point about, say, e-levy. You talked about finances, but you see, say e-levy, our IMF program was based on improved revenue generation. Once there's a new government, a few things can be, some of the things could be renegotiated. You can actually go back and say, instead of improved revenue generation, you're going to engage in expenditure cuts.
True.
Evans, you get the point. So you can go in and say, I want to cut expenditure and get people to appreciate that this is what I can do. Because if you're complaining that you have to pay e-levy, you have to pay COVID-19 levy of 1%, betting tax and all of that, I'll scrap all of these things for you. But what it also means is that you cannot come back to me asking for a 50% wage increase. You won't get it. So this is something...
Because the money is to sort out for the inflationary effects of these taxes.
Exactly. Yeah. So what you do is that all you have to do, and he's talked about a lean government. We want to see how lean the government is. The challenge with political parties when they win power with this kind of margin is that a lot of people play roles in bringing you into office. Yeah. So once you come into office, you want to, Professor Iddrisu says, people invest in. I say, you don't have to go anywhere. If you are concerned about the country, let your efforts be that. So your concern about happenings in the country will be your investment. You don't do this kind of investment hoping for a return in monetary terms. You can look for a return in improved condition of service of the general population and by extension you. But if you go and do that, then I'm sorry, we will be where we are because nothing will change. Because we'll just remove the NPP guys that people are complaining about today and replace them with NDC people who will do the same thing. Then we'll come back after 4 years or after 8 years and change them and say business as usual. So for me, he's talked about organizing a national dialogue. to find a new path and all of that. These are things that can be done. Once he's able to do these things in the first 120 years, it will buy him time.
Months.
120 days.
That's a years. 120 days.
Yeah. It's already days.
Where would I be in 120 years? Once he's able to do this in 120 days, it will buy him time, at least for the rest of the year. Then people will begin. Of course, he would need time.
Yeah.
And then people will start asking questions. Hold on, you said this, you said that, where is it?
And
yes. I think it's more about how he starts. You see, most of the promises that they made were political promises. Now they have to sit down and think it over before they begin to push it out to the public. And I believe there are a lot of economic loopholes that he could plug in. There are low-hanging fruits. We have some of these tax waivers and incentives that are given to new companies. Some company, I learned one of them was a luxurious hotel being put up by somebody close to power. And then you give this kind of tax waiver. What productivity does it bring? So you can look at those, see that there are a lot of very dubious contracts that is taking a lot of money from the state and not giving back to the state. Those are things you could review. Procurement, there are a whole lot of sole sourcing and look, there are a whole lot of low-hanging fruits that you could plug to be able to get revenue to what's the name, offset the harm that will be done to scrapping the e-levy and all those things. But also second, lean government means that you are getting competent people to be able to do the work and not necessarily party people. Yes, we know the party people have done a lot, but there's a way you can compensate them. But if you really want to be efficient and have a lean government, then you have to go for competent people, people with merit, rather than people with loyalty or people with party connections. But also, as much as possible, raining on his supporters, like my other colleagues have already mentioned, the kind of lifestyle that they will live. Look, if you say you have been hungry for 8 years, and for that matter, you are coming to also, it's your time to chop, you'll be making a lot of mistakes. And one of the good things and legacies Mahama can leave for this country is to fight corruption, even including his own people who show signs of being corrupt, so that he won't clear them like it's been done in the past. He has to put his feet down. And once you do it, and then they come after, and then they know that this man is actually serious. And I think these things are very important for his legacy, but also for the continuation of the NDC past 4 years after he's done and dusted.
And I think it's actually even the most important one. Wednesday, we will begin to see the first manifestations of how reformed a JM we are going to see in the next 4 years. He's going to be given us the names of his transition team members. That's the first indication of his thinking going into because a lot of the time, your transition team members, a lot of them transition into government. You see that you're putting the transition to government.
That's the first foot forward.
Yes, we're going to see that. But also, he's done this before. In 2013, when he won, when he started just like what you're saying.
Yes.
We had the likes of Atuguba.
Yeah,
we had the likes of Bendoche, Malo, and a whole host of others. Even his chief of staff at the time,
Prosper
Bani,
yes,
was a tried and tested, accomplished individual, right? And I remember civil society applauded him. It felt different. They had somebody who was breaking away from the...
And he also brought people like Pesa White, the archaeology guy, Dr. It's like one of the Busa, is it Busa not for Busa? Clement Park.
Clement Park, yes, so from civil society.
A whole lot of people,
but it did not last. Yes. And
true.
The party
but
you see, what may change this time? It's a two-way thing this time around. It didn't last at the time because the party had an election to win, still with John Mahama in there. Mm-hmm. And the party's complaint was that these guys are not party people. Yeah. They are getting our party members angry. Yeah. This time around, are you going to see a John Mahama who's going to say, well, the party, or a John Mahama who says, you know what, guys, let's leave a legacy. But this is the other thing, having said all of this other thing. Next year, okay, he will start on the 7th of January. By 2026, you will see people starting a campaign around the country. Yeah. wanting to succeed him. That becomes the first distraction.
Yes.
I mean, disruption. That becomes the first disruption. Because these people are going to be disrupting because they'll be moving from place to place, trying to get people. And once that starts, some of his ministers may want to be president of the republic.
And they may also look for money from government to campaign.
In fact, my thinking is that Mahama today, he's not naive. He knows the people who are interested in running for office. He should not appoint any of them. Why? Mahama should consider this period as his personal legacy. If he sets this country right, he promised a reset. If he sets this country right, it will kneel indirectly to the benefit of the NDC. Yeah. Far more than any help he can give to any individual to be president. We have seen from the Akufo-Addo legacy conversations that if you put in place a system that works, it has impact on what the candidates tend to inherit. So I am expecting that now so we know some of the names. We know some of the people who have already started canvassing. We know some of the people who are party positions and they are already doing shenanigans with the hope that they will soon become main candidates. If I am John Dramani Mahama, I keep these people far away from governance because you have only barely 3 years to conclude your work as president. Those 3 years, you really cannot be gambling with it. Unfortunately for you, there is no other term available. You are going to, in fact, you are in a unique position because they say, come back and be a legacy president. You have every right to get people angry, to get financiers angry because you don't need personally those people again. And I'm saying your greatest help is when you fix this country, it will not, in fact, it will make the NDC attractive. It will make people feel that this is the party to vote for because they will deliver the kind of Mahama to make sure that we get into the next time. But when you are more interested in, will the NDC win the next election, hook or crook, you tend to make those mistakes that they make, last minute launching of programs and commissioning, last minute sharing of money. And, yes, uncompleted, then you paint one building small, then you go and actually commission it. Those things, people see through it. We are not naive people. We are not kids. We are not people who can just be told stories and we move on and accept that. So I will want to see that happening. He ignores all of these people with the hope that they struggle and find their way because they too have their own legacy to build. It is most important he is mindful of these things.
And gentlemen, this is how we have to end it all. We started on Friday, and it didn't look like we knew when exactly this whole process will end. We were expecting to go a bit further into the week, but there was a concession within hours of the polls, which really was unprecedented. And I want to take you back to the map and to our smart wall, because this is the picture, and this is the state of play of Ghana right now. It is a green wave. You have to struggle sometimes and expand the map to look for the blues. Go into the Ashanti region and find the blues. Even there, the green is competing with that. For the very first time, we're seeing that play out in the Ashanti region. And there is the map for you. And this is going to be one of the maps that we're going to be looking at for a long time. Political scientists will write about this moment. And I'm pretty sure that a lot will be written about what happened in this election, because this entire map has been rewritten by the NDC and by you who went out to vote on the 7th of December. And the NDC has swept this clean. First time we've seen this margin of victory, 1.6 million voters in terms of the difference between the losing candidate, the current vice president, and the presidential candidate of the MPP, Dr. Bawumia, and the winner, President-elect John Dramani Mahama. 1.6 million votes. That is unprecedented. But one other thing I need to point out just before we wrap up is, whilst we drill down the numbers, you begin to notice that in 2020, JM actually went home with 6.2 million votes. This time, with 9 constituencies still to call, he is now at 6.3 million votes. If you do the calculations, it's just 60,000 votes more than 2020. We still wait for 9 constituencies to come to play. Something there is very obvious. The MPP lost this election and they lost it massively. They failed to get their people out to vote. The 1.6 million we're talking about, many of them. In fact, you can actually argue, considering that JM did not necessarily increase his votes from 2020 to 2024, he, in essence, kept what he had. The MPP simply, catastrophically failed to get their people out to vote. Why? Because of the circumstances that we've been telling you, using the smart wall and pulling up our poverty heat map. Each time we've done that, from 2015 to 2020, the heat map shows Ghanaians are significantly more poorer than they've ever been. And I'm going to do that once more before we go, because that is how you begin to appreciate why this has happened. In the midst of that poverty, and this is 2015 heat map, and this is the poverty heat map, by the way. The darker the shade, the more poverty you have, and the lighter, the less poverty. 2021, especially if you look at this part where Dr. Bamia comes from, and you come to Greater Accra and these areas, you see the darkness of the colors here and the shades. It tells you Ghanaians were bleeding, and they bled to the polls and punished the incumbent. That is the story of 2024. This is the picture, and we would have to spend a lot more time understanding it. There are a lot of people who have made that coverage possible that you cannot end if you do not acknowledge. For example, I need to bring in our team of officers in the strong room who are behind populating this. And I'm pretty sure you're wondering, this map here was empty when we started. It was like this when we started. It was empty. And now it is like this. It is because of the work of almost 100 people. They're right beneath me in a room we call the strong room. 2 rooms, in fact, the strong room and the collation room. And they were poring over the numbers, taking the results, analyzing it, verifying it, checking. And once they get happy, it goes to another room where the collators are. They will do another check, and before they put in the back end of the software. And then it shows up here, green or blue, depending on who is won. Those are the people first I need to say a big thank you to. And they came with a group of supervisors who were doing great work, supervising who we call the information officers, who were manning various regions, the Ashanti region, the Hafu region, Greater Accra, with your laptops marked and poring over the breaking news, the videos, the pictures, everything else that was happening. They make sure you did not miss it. The supervisors, 3 of them, changing and going through that shift of 8 hours, making sure that we got you this picture, that make sure that you didn't miss anything. And then some of them who, they don't even work with us, but they came back. They were colleagues who were here before, and they said they wanted to come and help out. Jifa Bampo, for example, was here. Great thanks to her. I'm pretty sure you missed that. Araba Kumsing was here, helping in the back here, making sure that we were getting it right, bringing all her experience to bear. And I'm sure you saw Israel Aye. He was at the EC headquarters. He was here with us. He came back to support and to help. This is Team Multimedia, making sure that you get this right. And that is exactly what we do. It's all hands on deck. All systems go. Even those who leave, they come back to make sure we get it right, because we take you absolutely seriously. You go to the collation room, our finance officers who are doing the number crunching with the Excel to make sure that every single result is right. And I'm pretty sure you've seen the errors that has been reported. Not a single one had missed us. Not a single one. Why? Because they were doing a great job ensuring that if it hasn't been checked and double checked again, it isn't coming here. And that team of finance people led by our CFO himself, right? We're making this work, by the way. And so that tells you the work that has been putting. And I have to also tell you that beyond all that, we had close to, in fact, more than 300 men and women foot on the ground, boots on the ground across all constituencies. And it's only because of them that we could get this for you. And many of them, we had just recruited fresh. We didn't know, we trained, but they were dedicated. They stayed on their feet. They slept on the floor if they had to bring you the report that made sure that you got this outcome in terms of the coverage and comprehensive coverage across the board. And to all of them, many of them you wouldn't know. Some of them, of course, work with us. Many, overwhelming majority, we don't know who. They just came and said they want to work, and they really were ready to meet the multimedia standard. We got them in, and they worked out there, putting their lives on the line. Some of them have been beating. Some of them have had to take in a bit more of pain, anguish, just so they can get you the results and so that you don't miss anything. To all of them, thank you all for that work that you did. Then you have to come back here, because beyond the screens, beyond the cameras, behind them, cameramen, the technicians, the engineers, the directors who I scream at quite a lot. And part of the reason why I cough is because I've been screaming. And they've taken it in good faith, making sure that they bring you all that brilliant coverage. Your televisions look good and active all the time. They've been doing a great work, especially the camera people and the directors who have been doing fantastic work, not sleeping, because if they do, the cameras will fall and go off. But they stood their grounds and make sure you got that clarity in what you were seeing on your screens. And to all of them, the directors, the camera people, the technicians, the engineers, led by Richard Singh and co, they did great work making sure that you got this coverage. And to the producers, by the way, my colleagues in the newsroom and elsewhere, production assistants who were working hard in the background, calling people, making sure we kept to the schedule that we had put together, all of them. And by the way, for the very first time, we were in Ashanti region. And you saw the analysis that we brought you from the rooftop. Yes, my colleagues I love, they were brilliant. Eugene and Akwete and Kofi Dudomfe and the entire team in Kumasi, who indeed also had their own station there with their own guests, making sure that we're not missing anything in the Ashanti region. And that Ashanti region we know was going to play a key role, and it did play a key role in the outcome. And so we said, look, let's tell the Ashanti region a story from Ashanti region. Let the people who lived it and breathed it and stay there do it. And that's why we gave them that task. And they executed it flawlessly from the rooftop, bringing that to you seamlessly. And again, when all this was happening, we were making sure that on digital media, you did not miss a thing. Because we know sometimes you cannot sit and watch television. You are on the go. You have to make sure you see it on your phone. You go to my Joy Online, onto a many social media platform. The digital team, they didn't sleep. Camped right next to the strong room. K-Fresh and his team, they were doing fantastic work, making sure that you are updated in real time on digital. You've seen many of the work that has gone viral. And sometimes we saw 80,000 of you watching live, and they were making that possible. And to all of them, we again say a great work that they've done. And before I come to the studio and thank the rest of us who were just taking the glory of the work, we don't matter at all. The security guys who were out there making sure the work is done. The transport guys who were sacrificing, driving people and not sleeping, and staying alert behind the wheel to make sure that our reporters get onto the ground to bring in the report. They deserve commendation too. And every single individual I can imagine who had made this possible, everybody had put in the great work. Nobody slept on the job. We were always up trying to make sure that we respect that you deserve only the best. And now I can come to my colleagues who were here with me on screen. And I say we are last because everybody else must do their job before we can do ours. So we don't matter. Winston, Raymond, Kojo Yankson, Mama V, MFR Pau, who started us all off. The Margaret Thatcher of our time at Detty. All of them who were here making sure that we gave you context, Kojo Breeze, and the entire team, Kofi AJ and the research department, doing great job. Tony, young man who has just been crunching the numbers. You saw the analysis we brought you on the election eve. Kofi AJ and his team were doing that crunching for us for months, working with Winston and Raymond and co in the background, making sure that we give you context to what was about to happen and is happening. And to that entire team there, Caleb and everybody, a young man who were just determined to make sure that we get it right. they also deserve commendation. And then to our guests, Professor Ali Lusaid is one of them. He's been here, you know, he's been here already before. And all of them. Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers, who for the very first time in a long time decided to come on live national television with us. Great thank you to him, to Professor Aining, to, what's her name, Bright Simmons, and to the whole host of stellar, top ring, top of their class guests who decided to join us. We were determined to make sure that if you're joining this team, you must be worth it. And that's why we brought you that, including the UN Secretary General's special representative who joined us at the start to make sure that we can send out the message of peace and the need for all of us to conduct ourselves in the way that will preserve the peace, who joined us at the beginning. All the guests who make time. Oh, and the fantastic female strong guests who joined us, Clara Kasati, Professor Benning of the School of Communication Studies, all of them made it possible. And now I can say, on behalf of everybody else, enjoy the rest of your evening. But we're not done yet, because there's a lot more to make sense of, and you can trust your election headquarters to give you that context, that meaning in the next few hours and the coming days, as the transition begins, as you get into swearing in, as Parliament's life expires and a new one comes in, you can trust that your election headquarters will be with you every step of the way. I can now say, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we see you again here on your election headquarters very soon. My name is Evan Spencer.